control against our Tosis debate and keep going back and forth.
That'll be easy. April 26, 2011, and welcome to State of the Game. I'm JP McDaniel, and everyone's laughing. Greg's webcam is off. What is going on, guys?
One second. I think we need to begin with a discussion of the single player.
Yeah, we're talking about single player.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe some people haven't played the single player. Like, I've played.
I haven't played it.
Dude, it's what?
It's great.
See, we played it. That's what we did.
It's unbelievable.
We've also got special guest Huck joining us right now. You can see him in the Jeff webcam.
I can't do any Huck impression. What was that celebration you did?
I don't. Oh, the finger thing. Yeah, he did that.
Yeah.
We all just did that in unison.
It was good.
Oh man.
The head bobble made it way too
Oh
feminine.
no! What was this?
Yeah. There's also that, and then he went like that. Yeah.
The head bob.
The
head bob made it way too like Cheerleader 3 or
Gay?
Get It On. What's it called?
Bring it on.
Bring It On. Yeah, not Get It On. That was the remake by Hollywood.
Turn the bench or something. It was
That was the adult version.
I'm glad you went there because I was about to. But anyways, let's talk about what everyone's been up to. We'll start off with Greg. You've actually got a bet for this show. Why don't you kind of tell everyone the details of this so you can actually gain back the 4,000 people that I just basically removed by taking the stream offline.
That's like cheating. You did lose for that. Yeah, I bet JP I could get him 20,000 live viewers. If we do get 20,000, then I do live commentary on my stream for a week, and he has to buy all my drinks for a night at MLG.
Indeed. And if he loses, then he has to buy me a single drink. Basically, it's win-win for me because either I get 20,000 or I get a free drink. I don't really see the downside to this. But we'll have to see. You guys are going to have to start working on it because now we're about 12,000 short. But Sean, day 9, plot.
Oh, it's so good. What's up?
How's your PC, man? I know you've been having some issues lately.
God. Okay, now I know exactly what the problem is, right? Okay, so originally it began when I blew a capacitor on my graphics card and just said, I guess I'm still using this graphics card, so I just had continued instability. And then I replaced everything, so my computer is pimped. Really good. But now because I have like new graphics drivers and new everything drivers and like 15 different codecs from my computer, there are so many conflicts that I just need to reformat. So I know definitively that's what's up. But I have no time because it's my last 2 weeks of grad school. So I'm on this unstable computer. I need it for all my projects, and that's just the way it's going to be. So it crashes a couple times a day. Incidentally, not during the last 2 dailies because I kind of disabled all HD recording. But I'm sure that you care about all the specific details. But basically, I'm running unstable, and I have 2 more weeks until I have a Master of Fine Arts in Interactive Media.
Well, going by who I am, I guess my only words are noted. And let's just move on to Jeff. Jeff, I heard if we get 30,000, you're proposing to Anna live on air.
Sure.
Your love is paramount. Oh my God, they're so in love.
It's true. It's true. He's also harnessing Huck, so we'll have some Protoss discussion here later. Tyler, I heard that you played. Well, I actually watched you play the single player today and beat it.
Yes, I did beat it.
A year after the game released on Brutal. You're not 100%
How'd you get past
yet,
the
though.
lava mission? I couldn't do it. I got stuck there forever.
The one where you have to move your units?
Yeah, I got tired of that real quick.
I got to be honest. I looked at a walkthrough. I had some real pros help me out.
There's walkthroughs.
Good lord.
Of course there's walkthroughs.
Alright, so when the
people like
lava
me.
gets up to about 2 inches off your base, and you lift it up, move forward, drop it down. Gotta get some wraiths going. Or not wraiths, excuse me, banshees. Get the banshees cloak upgrade.
You can get wraiths in single player. This is why you need to play it, man.
Goliath.
I know that you can get dogs that electrocute people.
Those are awesome.
Yeah, the Panthers and like headbutt the ground. It's like pretty sweet.
Oh, I totally forgot about those. Wow. That's a true statement. Also, I forgot about Machine. Joined at the hip right now with IdrA. How's it going, Machine?
Pretty good, how you doing?
I'm doing good. We'll have to, well, I guess we'll just have to bear with the sound since you guys are sharing one headset and one mic. What have you been up to, man? We haven't really heard from you much lately.
Practicing for MC this week in NASL, and once again I get some pretty unforgiving maps, aka Crossfire and Backwater, so wish me luck.
What is,
Crossfire should be great for you, man. You do the little run around to Roo things.
So good for CVP.
Yes, no, like I love the little run around to Ruha that like July did. That's so cool. I've just completely decided that map's the best for Zerg.
Okay.
Just hope MC does the same build he did against Rhett on Backwater. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I guess so.
MC's, what's your record right now in your group? I know MC's 0-3, right?
I'm 1-2 actually. I lost to Stalife 1-2, beat Braddock 2-1. Yeah, I know, right? And then lost to Hasuabs 0-2 on
Well,
Backwater.
I think
Hopefully,
it's possible didn't actually count though.
hopefully we'll look at an MC's record next week and see that it's 0-4 and you're going to be 2-2. But
Yeah.
talk about NASL a little bit later. Let's talk about what's going to be on the actual show tonight. We've got the updated patch notes, IPL, of course, NASL, GSL, the Evil Geniuses Master Cup drama, or I don't even know if that's drama, but we'll talk about what's going on with all that. Then we've got shout-outs from everyone, followed lastly by the listener questions. So let's go ahead and jump straight into the updated patch notes. These were released, I think, about 6 o'clock Central today. We've got the Archon range increased from 2 to 3, and we'll go through all these, and then I just want to get Greg's
What?
and Machine.
I didn't see that.
Yeah,
Wait.
so this is like brand new.
Yeah, it just came out like this afternoon.
Boom.
Protoss is getting a buff?
Yeah, so let's just go through these.
Like you lose some of your buffs though. You lose the warp or the gateway unit buff.
Wait a minute.
Jeff was
Wait
just
a second.
dancing.
They're
And now,
they're
not
gonna do
anymore.
the same warp gate nerf, and then
No.
they're taking away the.
They drop warp gates from 180 to 160, and they keep the sentry with the 5-second decrease, but the Zealot and Stalker decreases or they go away. Plus, you get the Archon thingy.
Okay, well, what did they do to the bunker though? That's my biggest question to you.
That's still the same.
Still the same, man. Still the same.
They didn't bring back the bunker thing.
Excuse me? Then you just got trolled, Mo Effer. That ain't the real patch notes. Hang on. Let me text Dustin Browder right now. If he knew that a patch went out and he didn't patch the bunker, he'd be upset. All right.
You got him? Let me
Lots
know-
of damage. Lots and lots of damage.
Let me know when he fires back at you. But let's talk about the change to the Archon range increase from 2 to 3. Tyler, I gotta ask you first, man. How's that change gonna change things in a sense?
Changes the game.
Eloquent, man.
Yep.
Well, let me tell you, there's like a state of the game that we're in now, and there's going to be a new state of the game, so we should probably discuss that. This new state of the game increased Archon range. No, it's a big deal, I think. It's going to depend on can you actually use Archons well. I don't think this is all of a sudden like now Archons will be awesome. But when you do get them, this will help a lot. Definitely. And then when you start thinking about that Marauders can't slow them because they're still a massive
Still
unit.
massive, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be easier for them to get their shots off, and they're going to do a lot of damage to MM. It's just they're going to get more shots off. When things rush in at them, they're going to start attacking just a little bit sooner when it comes in at 3 range instead of 2. Like, for example, Baneling or Zergling and Mutos. Going to be easier to get shots off on them. But, yeah, I don't see it like all of a sudden I can go Archons for a certain composition, but I'm definitely looking to try to get some Archons a little more in my compositions, and this you'll definitely be able to feel a big difference. At least pro gamers will be able to feel a big difference 2 to 3.
Jeff, I see you a lot of times in your games that you play in tournaments and also on your stream. You actually use the Archon quite a lot.
I probably use them more than anybody else.
Yeah, using DTs a lot of the time instead of High Templars. What are your thoughts on those changes? We talked about it being massive last week, so specifically the range increase from 2 to 3.
I mean, certainly be nice. There's nobody that's going to be like, well, you know, I'm really worried about the balance of the game with that Archon getting it. No one's upset about it, but like,
I know,
it'll
I
be
think
nice.
it's going to be really strong.
Not surprised. Greg, you're my favorite one-line setter-upper, man. You're so... every Zerg except for Greg is completely fine with this change.
Because they're all retarded. Like, Immortal Templar armies are already really fucking strong, and...
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say it's not going to help. Obviously it will. I mean, part of the problem with the Archon was that it had both a short-range attack, but also a small area of effect radius on its attack, so it just doesn't have the oomph that it did in Brood War, where it was like, it's an Archon, holy crap, and you have to get the hell out of the way. In StarCraft 2, you see, like, the weak StarCraft 2 lings bring it down fairly easily, which is just, like, blasphemous, but obviously the range increase isn't going to do too much to change that, but it will help a little bit. I do think that making them massive will increase the frequency for which we see it, and then also increasing the range of it is going to increase the effectiveness of it. So it is going to make the Protoss death ball, if you will, more effective. The Archons are going to get off another shot or two, and that's going to do a lot.
IdrA, you already gave your one-liner. You want to follow this up anymore? You want to talk about the changes? Tell me how you really feel.
I don't know. I think that Immortal HT builds are already more robust than Colossus builds. Colossus builds just get more attention because they're a lot easier to execute. It's a lot easier for bad players to win with them. And I think with the Archon buff, it's just going to make them a lot stronger. And it's going to be really good. But I think it's going to be really good versus Terran, too. I don't know. I think the Archons actually might be too strong, which is kind of weird.
I think it's a bigger difference against Terran.
Yeah. Yeah, negating concussive shells is pretty huge.
It is.
What does your Zerg attached at the hip think about this?
Well, obviously, with the whole massive increase, I think it's obviously going to be a much bigger buff for the PvT matchup. Not really worried so much about it against Zerg, because I'd rather deal with Archons even with +1 range than High Templar and Storm. So, you know, I guess that's just all I really think about it. I think it's a much bigger buff for PvT than PvZ.
Sean,
it's a weird one, though. Like, nobody was talking about the Archon. I don't know.
Well, I like Tyler's. Was it Tyler that said that they should be a massive unit?
That's another... That's happening.
Yeah,
That's one of the other changes, yeah.
I said that at some point.
Yeah, I think you did. And so, yeah, I think it's a great idea for PvT. It makes, you know, gives them some sort of use after you've gone ahead and used those storms. And so, obviously, you're going to be better in that matchup, but I'm not really worried about them yet, you know, until Greg proves me wrong here.
So I'm looking at some of these other changes. I actually, in the graphic that I prepared, it didn't have the full changes, but Warp Gate change increased from 140 to 160, so that's 20 seconds less. The gateway time decreased from Sentry train time, decreased from 42 to 37, and then all the other unit train times remain unchanged, and the pylon change is still there. So, Jeff, what do you think about those changes? Everything else being removed that we talked about last week, except for the Sentry, which is being from 42 to 37.
You know what? I mean, I can't say it without smirking that it's probably a good thing that they reverted back from the gateway timings, because I think it was going to make PvZ a lot better for Protoss. Like, the ability to have 2 Zealots and a Stalker something like 20 seconds faster total is insanely strong against a no-gas Zerg. Like, it eliminates a lot of the options Zergs have. So they obviously mitigated that to a certain extent, but I'm glad that they had the foresight to not just do that and then leave us with a 40-second later Warp Gate timing, because that would really hurt a lot of the other matchups, but also PvZ as well. I think 20 seconds, you know, obviously just less severe, and really what the difference is it's like almost 66% of a unit, 1 extra unit or whatnot, so it'll slow down 4-gate timings, which will, I think, it's honing in on helping PvP, in my opinion. Because the other problem we were going to have with PvP too was that 2-gate timings were going to be like such a coin flip in that matchup, right? Like, it's already kind of a coin flip in that sense, but now you're just increasing the effectiveness of 2 gates, and I thought that was going to be a problem. So I think this is moving in the right direction as far as I'm concerned.
Tyler, you got any thoughts?
I think it's a vast improvement from what they had before. I mean, I'm still going to stick to the position that I'm not sure that any of it's necessary at all, but this is definitely way better, and I'm a lot more comfortable with these changes than what they had before.
IdrA, Machine, or Sean, do you guys want to add anything to the other changes, or the other units being removed and the Sentry still remaining there?
I like it a lot. I think obviously the problem with taking up the warp gate research time was making Protoss really vulnerable to any kind of aggression, but the Sentry is what you're really depending on to hold that off. So it's force field on the ramp. I mean, yeah. So, but then again, Cell and Stalker with the lower build times, it would be ridiculously powerful. I saw people talking about PVT. It's like literally impossible to kill a 16 Nexus on the PTR, and so obviously that's not acceptable. And I think it would be really, really strong too. So yeah, I definitely think these are really good changes. And I think it's just a good way to address the problem that is 4-gate in general, and I think it'll be a pretty big improvement.
Sean or Machine?
I would throw out there that Blizzard is smart because, like, it's very easy for people to see one change that they want to test, but that they haven't put in, because a lot of people treated the changes as though they had happened. I mean, like, a lot of people were saying things, you know, to me day one after the patch. How do you think the matchup is going to be affected once they actually implement the extra 40-second release? But it's kind of an example of how the game design process actually works, where they just want to test it. They just kind of want to see the way it works. The same way someone might say, I wonder how this build works. And then they just get absolutely smashed. And they're like, it doesn't work very well, and now I know that. So I do like, just, you know, to reiterate what everyone else is saying, that it seems to have honed in on the problems of a certain matchup without really gigantically obliterating the way that the other matchups played, as I think that an early Zealot pressure would have changed the matchups. But I do think that it creates enough wiggle room that maybe there's a couple of new different techniques that people would be willing to fiddle around with. So I'm always up for that.
Machine?
You guys said the Sentry still builds 5 seconds faster, right?
Yeah.
I kind of
That's
like
good.
I kind of like the idea of the earlier Sentry, because even if they do choose to use that for some sort of aggressive timing, it's like a high risk, high reward probability due to risking so much gas for some sort of like extremely fast, you know, chrono boosted out Sentry attack. And at the same time, it's also helping them with their problem as far as you know, dealing with that early aggression. So overall, it's a pretty good change in my opinion.
Let's shift focus here and go to the Terran changes. The only one that looks like that has been added is the Thor is now gaining back its energy up to 200 max energy. It starts with 50,
Ooh.
and the 250mm strike cannons now cost 150 energy to use, with the cooldown being removed.
That's a PVT buff BTW.
Yeah,
Big time.
Go on.
it's huge.
Go on, man.
It used to be that, like, when they made Thors, you had the option to counter them with Templar, or you could be on the Robotech. You know, either one was a healthy option.
Uh-huh.
But then when they switched to cooldown, you don't. What do? You know, you don't Psionic Storm a frickin' Thor. It's like a hilarious rainstorm on its wind panel or its windshield. So it forces the Terran basically to take that into consideration. I mean, the Thor timings were getting pretty outrageous, and I don't think they were ever fully utilized. But I think Thorazane was onto something. Like they were hugely powerful.
Yeah, Tyler, you were actually on the other side of those Thors in a recent tournament. What do you think about this change now?
Well, to be honest, I'm afraid of Thors the way they are now. So I don't know how to beat them exactly. I mean, it's one of those things where it's not a situation that the Terran can get themselves in every single time, but if the Terran can get themselves in a situation where they can pull off this Thor timing attack, it's really, really strong because the strike cannon kills an immortal. So you have to have more immortals than they have Thors just to survive, to actually have immortals do something. And then after that, you know, Thors are pretty strong anyway without strike cannon. So I was actually working on doing like a a Phoenix Immortal combination where as soon as they strike cannon, you lift your own Immortal and then you drop it, and then the cooldown's
clever,
Does that work?
Yeah.
It works, yeah. I've done it a couple of times.
That's awesome, man.
That's really cool.
But like, it's not the greatest thing ever. Like, it's really cool, but like,
No, it's just
And then
like,
he builds
look,
a bunch
guys.
of Marines, and you're like,
yeah, yeah. It's not
You
like
guys are funny. You just spent Stargate X number of Phoenix on removing his Thors from the battle so they don't die. It sounds cool, but that's like...
Yeah.
No.
It's a really cool idea, but it's terrible.
Yeah,
come on, you Protosses did the same thing with shuttles for their Reavers.
And then if they
not
have
so bad.
EMP, you lose energy on your Phoenixes, and you lose shield on your Immortals anyway. So, like, EMP
okay, no one makes ghosts.
Like, LOL. But seriously, like, I was actually getting pretty scared of this, because then you kind of think, well, I'll go Mass Zealot, and then Blue Flame Hellions sit behind the Thors and the SCVs that are repairing, and the Hellions are unkillable, and it's a pretty sick combination. But it was way too early for me to publicly make my fears known and start crying imbalance.
A lot of people in the chat is
solution.
saying, why not use a Warp Prism instead of a Phoenix? Is it just because they'll die in a second?
Oh, Warp Prism has 15
Warp Prisms
health.
die if you look at them wrong.
That's kind of what I was imagining.
It's like it's like a fairy that flutters above the battlefield, like, I'll pick you up.
Yeah. Yeah, but this way, I mean, this is a huge nerf to strike cannons, because first of all, it's really hard to save up to 150 energy, right? Because you start with max 50, and then you have to wait for 100 energy to come.
Yeah.
So even if you do that, and then if you're doing a Thor timing, well, your last couple of Thors pop out, they don't have enough energy. Your timing is like 2 or 3 of your Thors have energy. So you have like 2 or 3 strike cannons to work with, and reinforcement Thor is not going to have strike cannons. That's a huge deal. And then if the Protoss gets Templar out, then a Templar Immortal combination to feedback takes away your strike cannons, and then Immortals actually become a counter to Thors. And honestly, right now, I don't feel like Immortals are a counter to Thors, and it's just a really difficult situation. Yeah, I mean, you basically have to avoid the situation of a good Thor timing, because once it comes, I don't really see good ways to beat it. But with this, you'd actually have excellent way to beat it. So it's taken away a kind of new strategy from Terran that hasn't even really fully developed yet and hasn't like dominated that much. So in that way, it's kind of sad, but it might be overpowered. I don't know. So it might be a good change. But yeah, as for me, I'm just like, thank God. If this change goes through, I'll just be like, thank God I don't have to spend hours
Figuring out a way to beat it.
figuring this shit out.
Sean, you got any thoughts on the Thor chain, specifically in the PvT matchup?
I actually feel that, like, the change is something that, like, gave wiggle room to a situation where there was no wiggle room. Because, I mean, I want to think just about the Thor rush, where you have a lot of Marines, 2 to 3 Thors with a strike cannon, and a bunch of SCVs. If you're really good and get the right mix of gateway units and maybe have a couple of Immortals, you can hold it off. But it's hard, and I honestly think that there are so many ridiculous situations where you have to be so crisp and impeccable with the timing. And it's kind of similar to the way that the 4 Warp Gate worked, where, again, I kind of agree with Tyler that I don't think that the change to the Warp Gate was necessary, but I also think it took way more time than I really liked to figure out a way to deal with the 4 Warp Gate style. And it just gives wiggle room to situations that really had zero. I'm fine with no wiggle room. That's how the men roll. But, another thing that's really nice is that if you have energy on the Thor, you can even see how much energy it has and know how much of a threat you're in. And I like that situation where you can use judgment in a game situation as opposed to just using a whole bunch of pre-set up calculations.
Now, IdrA and Machine, is this going to have any effect? I mean, I can't fathom any effect in the ZVT matchup, but maybe you guys can.
No, it won't. It won't change anything at all.
Okay, that's what I figured. So let's just move on to the Infestor change. The speed decrease from 2.5 to 2.25.
What? Why is that there? Can you guys explain this? Are they too fast?
It's a buff for Zerg.
Yeah, it really is.
It prevents the infestors from running ahead of our army and dying before they do anything.
I was thinking that because every time I see a Zerg user ever bring an infestor into the fight, they just come with their army and then they die after they do the fungal growth. That's pretty much all you ever see happen, no matter if you're watching Codex.
Yep, now it's going to work like Templar. They're just going to sit in the back line naturally and cast their spells.
So you're happy with
it's
this
actually
change,
kind of a buff
basically.
for us.
We'll see, though. We'll see, because their cast range is so short. I could see this complicating things, too.
Fungal is 7. That's okay-ish, and Neural is 9.
Well,
And that needs to be 13 the way it was before.
Yes, it
Neural
does.
is good.
It costs
I think the
50
fungal
mana
is...
and not have an upgrade? Fuck yes.
The other change that was happening last week was the route time decrease from 12 to 6 on the Spore Crawler. You weren't here, Greg, as well as Machine. You guys got any thoughts about that?
It's going to help a lot with, like, just Void Ray defense, or maybe if your Spore's placed out of position of seeing a DT or something, but overall not really a big change unless you've already made a mistake, I guess, so it's going to make it a little bit more forgiving, but that's the only thing I can see.
Should have been the Spine Crawler.
Yes.
Yeah, they misspelled Spine Crawler with that one.
That was the running joke
It will
last
help
week.
with, like, double expand versus Void Ray. That's the one situation I can think of where it'll make a huge difference. And it is pretty good for that, but no, it should have been Spine Crawler.
Sounds good. I think that's going to wrap up the patch notes, and just got a special request on Skype a couple minutes ago while we were in that segment. Tasteless is going to be joining us. We're going to start talking about the GSL, kind of jump ahead on schedule. It's going to mess up the Skype, but we're going to bring him in here. Hopefully he answers. Nick?
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 Nick.
Nick?
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 Nick! Hey!
Can you guys hear me?
How's it going, Nick?
Yes.
I'm doing good, man. Hold on one second. I gotta turn off the volume on the stream.
All right.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can. You're coming in loud and clear,
Wow,
man.
it is so exciting since I live in Korea to see this many white people at once. Wow. IdrA, Machine, I gotta say, you guys are the fucking cutest couple I have ever seen.
I know, right?
Look at this, you guys.
Oh, God. By the way, we are at 15.5K, Greg. Machine, if you could tell him that. I don't know if you heard me.
Greg, 15.5K. What's up?
So we got 4.5K.
Alright, everyone else join, and tell your friends to join. Get your moms and stuff. Come on.
Can't believe someone's mom is going to be watching the show. But,
Greg's watching, I think, actually.
well, your webcam's currently frozen right now, Machine. I don't know if you can fix that or if Greg's sitting there, but
I don't know how to use Greg's webcam.
it's all right. It's technology. It's technology. So let's talk about Code S last night, Nick. What were your thoughts on those matches?
I did not predict them to be as one-sided as they were, but I gotta say I'm kind of excited to see Nada moving on to the tournament. That's really cool. Hopefully he'll get a little bit farther this time.
Oh, there we go.
Maybe to the finals. And it's really good to see.
SC was just balling, man.
Lucera just bombed out. That was really weird, but
Yeah.
it's kind of exciting to see SC doing as well as he is.
Sean, I know you stayed up for the first series. Did you pass out like you said you were? Or did you stay up and watch the second?
Oh,
set
yeah,
last night?
super passed out.
So-
Yeah, remember that game that I was like, oh, yeah, he's totally got it won, and then he lost? Yeah.
Then he lost like 5 minutes later.
But that actually really excited me because it felt a little unstable, and we don't really see that many unstable-looking matches. It's generally like one player is even with the other, and then just, bam, wins with one big drill. So, like, I was really excited to see this sort of back-and-forth dynamic between Nada and Top, and also Nada's big variety of strategies.
Jeff,
And my brother's amazing commentary.
Go on.
Jeff or Tyler, did you guys happen to catch those games at all? Either set?
I had to
last
play an
night?
important match today. I couldn't stay up.
I haven't seen him yet, but I'm gonna because I'm the biggest Nada fan in the world.
Greg or Machine, did you guys happen to stay up or catch the VODs?
Yeah, I saw SC versus Lucera.
What did you think about that series, especially Game 1, where 16 Marines were being produced at a time and just rallied straight to Lucera's base on Terminus?
Well, that's just kind of the problem with 2 racks. I mean, it's really hard to know how many Zerglings you're supposed to make. And, well, I mean, the game was over after the early game. Well, SC could have done anything. He happened to do one of the cuter things possible. But no, that's the problem with 2 racks.
And the rest of the series, what did you think about that?
Oh, Crossfire was just a bullshit map. I mean, Lucero is obviously the better player, but you can never secure a third, and it's just so hard to engage on there. And the other game, it was just a bunker rush. It's like, I don't really understand why people don't 2-Rex anymore. It's a really, really powerful build.
Yeah.
And it should be used more. It's really hard to deal with.
Also, if I could butt in for just a second, I think he lost way too many infestors that game.
Yeah, his infestor control wasn't good at all.
Yeah, he was
That was
doing
bad by him.
the thing that all Zergs do where they just run in with the rest of their army, get the fungal off, and then die immediately. So the series coming up, round of 8, day 2, we've got Songho against Inca, and then Nesty against AnyPro. So Jeff and Tyler, you guys can jump in here since there's a lot of Protoss play happening on round of 8, day 2. Sangho, Inca, who do you guys think is going to take it, Jeff? We'll start off with you.
I keep wanting to root for Sangho because he was a pretty cool Brood War player. But Inca seems to be a bit of a PvP sniper. So he'll probably take it.
Tyler?
Yeah, pretty much exact same for me. Inca's PvP looks pretty incredible. And the only thing I'd want to see from it is a little more creativity. I feel like he definitely dominated during the whole 4-gate period. And he's probably the best 4-gate player in the world for PvP. But I'm not so sure how much other stuff I've seen from him PvP. I just feel like he doesn't make mistakes, and that's all it takes to win. Yeah, that'll be a pretty sick series. I think Songho will probably try to do some more creative stuff, but I'm not so sure. We'll see. And then the other match...
AnyPro Nesty.
Yeah, I'm more excited to see Nesty's EVP, because I think he's a really smart player, and I think Zergs are kind of unpredictable at this point. Like, a lot of options have opened up for them, and a lot of different Zergs are going a lot of different directions, so I want to see what Nesty has bought into at this point, and how he's going to play it out.
Nick, what about you? I mean, you and Dan hype Nesty up almost every time he plays. Even when he's not playing, you still talk about him. You think he's going to take out AnyPro?
You know, I think it'll depend on what kind of builds AnyPro does. He's got an interesting selection of build orders that he likes to use. I think the longer the game goes on, the more likely AnyPro is to lose. But, you know, it's really tough to say. I mean, as good as Nesty is, you know, the GSL that he won, that was Season 2, that was quite a ways ago. I still think he's pretty scary. Other thing is that I think Nesty's team, the people he trains with, I mean, IM is much better than Prime, as good as Prime is.
Yeah.
So that's some stuff to keep in mind. I would assume on paper that, you know, Nesty would win, but we've had so many upsets you know, thus far, and in the previous season. So I would think Nesty, but we'll have to see. For the PvP, I'm kind of, you know, agreeing with everybody else. I think Inca should win this. Just he's so solid, and he does so many different things and pulls it off in PvP. Songho's pretty good. Psychologically, he's got a good attitude going up against people who generally are the favorites, but we'll see.
Just want to say real quick, we'll get Sean's opinions on the round of 8 as well as IdrA Machine, but IdrA's a Machine's webcam's not working because we have 5 people on the call, and if I reorganize everything, I'm going to have to do it as soon as Nick leaves us right after this. So we're just going to leave it the way it is now, and everything will be back to normal once we get off the GSL. But Sean, who's going to take those 2 matches, man? What are your predictions?
As one of the last people asked, I will just agree with everyone else and just go with the Nesty Inca mix. I mean, and you know, it reminds me of I don't remember when it was, but like way long ago. I think maybe in the first GSL when it was like, who does everyone on State of the Game predict? And we all predicted the exact opposite of what actually happened the next day. So I'm quite excited to see if we'll be potentially wrong. Either way, I'm always just a fan of like really long, good games where people win with cool stuff. So I'm kind of hoping to see some creativity out of like AnyPro in particular, who kind of has done some zany stuff before. I'm hoping.
If loving you is wrong, Sean, I don't want to be right.
IdrA Machine, who's going to take those 2 matches? I don't have any way to get out of that without just going.
Thank you,
The awkward transitions are back.
Yeah.
I think AnyPro will win. He has a really abusive PvZ style. He's willing to just go fast expand and mass stalker Colossus, and I don't think there is a good answer to that yet. So I think he'll probably beat Nesty. Nesty is definitely the better player, though.
Yeah.
So
Standard, Greg.
Standard IdrA.
He's the better
And then
player.
Inca versus Sango. Inca isn't actually that good, and Sango is a StarCraft 1 player, so I'm going to go for Sango. I don't know how silly PvP is. Maybe Inca will win, but yeah. I don't know much about either's PvP, so I'm just hoping Sango wins because he's more talented.
Machine?
I gotta side with Greg here. Right now, I cannot see Nesty beating Anytime Style. Just that, or what was that? Or any pro style. I don't know why I said that. Yeah, I don't know. It's a little difficult to deal with as long as he plays it properly. Nesty still has great mechanics, very well-rounded player. I'd have to say this match is in any pro's favor. And I actually like Inca. I think he's a very well-rounded Protoss. Very good selection of styles that he could play, particularly. Just good all over, good mechanics, so forth. So I'd have to actually pick Inca to win that match.
Sounds good. We'll have to see. That's going to be happening tomorrow, about 24 hours from now. Nick, I got to say, we still got you on the call, so I want to kind of pick your brain about the GSL. You guys got anything coming up that you can kind of tease or possibly announce, maybe?
I don't know if I'm allowed to announce anything yet. We got a lot of cool, events coming up here that we're excited to do. But I got to wait for Gom to announce that stuff before I do.
What about your latest, what you've done to Nerds on the Ladder? Can you give us one of those before you go?
Shit.
You're on the spot now, man.
Normally I think about this when I'm peeing during breaks. I don't know, terrible things. Terrible things.
I've got you on the spot now, Nick. Now everyone knows
man.
your
Usually
secret.
I'm fucking riding on a dinosaur with a nerd's head in my fucking hand. It's out of control. But I haven't ladder recently, so I don't have anything good. I'm sorry.
There you go. So, anyone else got any questions for Nick before we let him go?
I'm going to Korea to visit Nick. Yeah.
Uh-oh, there's some news.
Yeah.
Jeff, you got
it's going to be pretty sick, man.
I love you, Nick.
Yeah. Nick and I,
love you too.
Nick, okay, I don't know if you've played Infamous, but I'm bringing it for the PS3.
All right, man. I'm ready, dude. I got down here. Sorry I can't normally come on State of the Game. Normally I'm pretty busy. I'm doing voice acting and some other stuff.
This is fucking early for you, man. Like, what?
It's 1 in the afternoon, man. Normally I wake up and I look at my cell phone and I go, oh, thank God, and I go back to bed because I don't need to be in the studio for a few more hours.
Jeff, you got anything? You said something to him. I'm not sure if he heard you.
I told him I love him.
I love him back.
I just wanted to make sure. So, Nick, thank you so much for coming in and joining the
Thank
call.
you. I get to clean my apartment. It's full of trash. I'm like fucking Oscar the Grouch right now. I got so much stuff I got to do today. But please add me on Twitter. Call me Tasteless. And buy my shirts at thehandsome.nerd.com because I need to buy Taco Bell.
shirts.
I need money.
Pulling the Sundance.
Anyways, it's a pleasure being on here, guys. Have a good one. Take care.
Awesome. We'll see you later, Tasteless.
Bye, Nickeloid.
Let me drop him. There we go. All right, IdrA, why don't you try to fix your webcam real quick for us. Let's move on to talking about the IPL results. That just wrapped up over the weekend. IdrA, you took the tournament over Kibikaki. You were down 2-0 in the finals, came back to win 3 games in a row. Talk to me about that series.
Yeah, PVZ is kind of silly, so I was just doing like cheesy stuff, and the first 2 times it didn't work out, and the next one it did. And then we played big macro maps, and I outplayed him really badly on Shakuris because I'm like 3 times better than him. And then on Terminus,
I love Greg.
On Terminus, he realized that I was just trying to make him multitask, and so he defended it all. But then he attacked anyway because he doesn't understand timings, so I won.
Greg, don't ever change, man. Don't ever change.
I'm just going to let everyone let that sink in for a second. Jeff, you got any thoughts on those matches? You started shaking your head immediately. Were you just anticipating what Jeff was going or what Greg was going to say? There's your rule, by the way.
Greg is infectiously good for the community because if you interview him, you have the opportunity to be a part of history. You're that guy that asked him the question where he then took a shot at one of the best Protosses outside of Korea. No, I mean it was a good series. It was cool that Greg fell down 0-2, and I'll say this, having known Greg for a very long time, there was a Greg in the past who would have quit, who would have gotten frustrated, and would have lost the series, but he stuck to it, and Oh. See, Greg, I'm trying to compliment you, and you got to type up. You got to put it away. Anyways.
No, I'm trying to fix the webcam.
He stuck with it, and he came out ahead in the grand finale against a guy who is probably one of his arch nemesis. He's beat you a few times.
One of many, for sure.
He's beat you at MLG, and here you are in the finals of a tournament for revenge, and you got the better of him. So I think that's pretty cool. I'm happy with that story. EG fighting.
IdrA, you used actually when it comes to you, kind of unconventional builds and strats in those games. Do you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, you can't really win ZVP, straight up right now, so I just kind of cheese a lot and hope it works out. And it has been, because no one expects it from me, but they'll figure it out eventually.
This is a gold mine, man. I should just keep asking questions.
Greg's like, I tried to make roaches and hydras and corruptors for a while, and it didn't work, so I switched it up, and now I do different strategies, and I win. But
and I just flip coins and hope they don't scout me or, no timings or anything.
It's a good coin, man. I'd stick with that coin.
Smart. You got to change it up, and you did that, and you won. There's no it's not random factors.
Look at the last game, though. If he hadn't made that attack, if he had just been smart and pulled back and defended, the aggressive shit, it did not work. He defended it easily. He destroyed the drops. I couldn't do anything to him. And I was no way I was going to be able to attack before he was maxing out the death ball. But he chose to attack at 160 supply and throw it all away on creep. If he hadn't done that, I would have gotten rolled. Well,
that's the mistakes of Protoss, though. I'll tell you, every Protoss can tell you they lose more games because they were over-aggressive, but that's what they have to do to keep the Zerg under wraps. So.
But they don't, because if you just get the max, then it doesn't matter how many bases we have, because you just kill us for you kill a 200 army for 10 supply. It doesn't fucking matter how many bases we have.
Okay.
But there's still, when they're about to move out, you just have a drop waiting in the
No!
And then...
Tyler, shut your mouth. You get 200, you kill them, and then they get 10 supply.
I don't know.
I actually have to agree with Greg here.
That's weird. Bryce is agreeing with Greg.
No.
You're like the puppet sitting there. Everything you said echoed.
No. It's actually ridiculous. If you've ever been a Zerg that's faced the Protoss Death Ball, and yes, you sit there and you defend drops. So what? You can sit there and warp gate in units as you lose your 10 supply to their maxed army, and then defend your main. It doesn't matter. I don't know. I'm just saying. There's a reason why Protoss is winning
about
everything.
Bitter race players
There's a reason why Protoss is winning everything, especially GSL Code A, man. They are just tearing that up.
No, Terran is even more bullshit. It's just Protoss is also bullshit.
Yeah.
See?
Nice try, Sean.
So this is how you're going to get 20,000 viewers, IdrA.
I forgot that other race was doing well.
Yeah, as soon as Zerg wins a game, then we can talk. But
I'm sorry, JP. Finish your interview with the winner of the IPL, who plays Zerg. He was explaining how Zerg don't win right now. I'd like you to.
Doesn't fucking count. I spent 3 years playing this game, 12 hours a day. I'm not supposed to lose to these people.
Oh man, if you're listening right now to the MP3, tune into the VOD and see.
I don't
what
think you can see it, but my
up.
face is twitching.
Just let that sink in for a second. Tyler, do you got any thoughts on the IPL games? I'm sure you watched them. The finals.
I watched the finals.
That's what I'm speaking to.
I like how in that one game where Greg's dropping them, and then Kiwi Kaki does a timing at 160 supply, and then Greg beats it. That even if Kiwi Kaki hadn't done that timing, Greg could have won that game anyway. And I was just so happy to see Greg, who's the better player, being in a position to just dominate a guy like that, even though it's CVP.
Tyler, you're so awesome.
Bryce goes, Greg, what do I say?
Yeah.
Hate you guys.
Give me a sign.
Sean, thoughts on the finals?
Okay, so I actually did not get the chance to watch it because I'm in the situation where I can't even spare a few hours to reformat my incredibly unstable computer because, again, I'm on the home stretch. But when it's the weekend, when it's the weekend, I will watch it. And then I will comment on how unbelievably hard it is for the Zerg race to win everything except championships.
I like it when Sean's mean. Yeah.
Is that satisfactory? Well, I don't know. I just don't.
The only wins have been me and Rhett in 2 bad foreigner tournaments since GSL 2. I mean,
Greg.
it's me versus a bunch of Americans, and then Rhett against like the second-tier Europeans.
What am I, chopped liver? What is this? This kid over here.
We live in Korea for years and practice a bunch. We're supposed to win, and then you see how many random players have you seen winning tournaments and doing well with Terran Protoss, and how many have you seen with Zerg? I mean, the only people winning at all with Zerg are top-tier StarCraft 1 players who are supposed to be winning. But fucking anyone can win with Terran and Protoss.
I don't know how to argue with that, because like the problem is that like I don't actually feel like you're commenting on the race.
But when I comment on the race, you just laugh at me and say you want to talk about imbalance.
Well, it's because you're not talking about imbalance. You're venting.
And I do. You do.
You just like go on these diatribes.
They scout early game, and they have the weakest units that can't have any aggressive potential because they have low range or they're melee, and every other race can wall in and build defensive buildings behind it. So there's no possibility for aggression. But since we can't scout, we have to overcompensate early on. But if we overcompensate, then we can't use those aggressively. So we always end up behind unless we guess perfectly. In which case we end up okay, because Terran and Protoss never really have any pressure on them. And then once we get in the mid-game, we have the lesser units anyway, so we have to string you out all around the map. And if you just sit there and fucking defend, you end up with a stronger army. And then we have to go to Hive Tech, but all our Hive Tech units fucking suck, because Void Rays are good against Massive. And Terran just beats everything if they would fucking make Ghosts, but they don't. So.
Sean.
See, what I mean, again, is that like that was
Just let him
venting.
go, Jeff.
That was like...
No, that's pointing out all the problems with the games.
To be able to like appropriately discuss imbalance would take like a very, very long time, and would require like
some very
in-depth...
simple, very specific problems. Is Zerg can't scout early. It has to be the defensive race. But the units we have to make in order to defend stuff can't be used aggressively. So if we overcommit at all to the defense, then we end up behind. Like all the games with SC versus Lysira. He made enough lings. He recognized that SC was going to be aggressive. He made enough lings to kill it, except he made too many. So then he defended the attack easily and still ended up behind. Because those Zerglings could then do absolutely nothing. Because it's so hard to be aggressive for Terran Protoss early game.
I haven't seen the game, so I can't actually comment. That's the problem.
But that's like a general principle. It's just so easy to wall off in a couple of defensive buildings or a couple of defensive units and completely nullify Lings, Roaches, and Banelings.
I'm curious how you would comment on Zerg vs. Terran from the Zerg's point of view in Brood War.
What about it?
The same lack of scouting problems still arise. Well, actually, same with Zerg vs. Protoss and Zerg vs. Terran. Except in those...
There weren't nearly as many powerful aggressive builds, and also the difference between spine crawlers and sunken colonies. Sunken colonies built a lot faster. Spine crawlers can't be a snap defense. We have to be
Sean,
prepared beforehand.
I want to save you time. Ask Greg what he thought the weakest race in Brood War was.
I'll give you that privilege, Jeff.
Greg, what was the weakest race in Brood War?
Terran versus Protoss. Terran and Zerg.
Say Terran. You say Terran. Now, Greg, what race did you play in Brood War?
Terran versus Protoss was the most losable.
Greg is not answering the question because it's
No,
Terran for both of those.
I said Terran and Zerg were both hard.
Because the thing is that the reason I say that it's venting is because like balance is something that should be discussed like totally calmly and dispassionately with like lots of evidence and examples and testing in time, as opposed to like 3 sentences that are sped through so fast.
No, but we tried that at another state of the game. You said that you just laugh and troll when people talk about imbalance, so I don't really see the point.
Well, because like I had to go, I wasn't gonna like engage in discussion right there. And plus, trolling's awesome in some circumstances. I'd be happy to engage in one like in a very like long.
No, in principle you don't.
Calm.
You're like imposed to saying anything's imbalanced at all.
Generally, yes, totally. I absolutely agree with that.
So if you're opposed to thinking that anything is imbalanced, I mean, obviously things are imbalanced. Things were imbalanced in StarCraft 1. They just happened to counteract each other. But in StarCraft 2, it's such a young game, and there's clearly problems. I mean, even Blizzard's still balancing it. And
I just don't think
I don't know how you can say that. And then
it's just not a particularly useful discussion in my eyes. Like,
but it is useful. It's like, you see fucking retarded people winning games instead of people who actually deserve it, and it's like we're trying to make a competitive esport.
But I don't know what that
should be
means.
the forefront of discussion.
Well, I just don't know what that statement means, though. That's the problem. Is it's like poorly defined terms, like, oh, the better player lost, but the only clear metric we have is winning and losing. So that's like the benchmark that you have to work with. Because in a sense, an interesting thing to note is that regardless of any game created, a balanced metagame will form, period. Tic-tac-toe has a balanced metagame, despite the fact that it consists solely of draws. If StarCraft 2 does, I mean, no matter what the situation is, it should hit on some tone of balance. Actually, it will necessarily have a balanced metagame that might involve one race not even being played at all. But we're just so extremely far from anything even remotely.
But that's not truly balanced, then. That's compensating for poor game design.
No. Literally, any single game that you give me will have a set of optimal strategies that is defined as balanced. Because it must. It may boil down to one strategy that is best, and then two people will be engaging in that strategy against one another, period, in 100% of games.
That's not balanced in what StarCraft players call balance. By balance, we mean that all the races have an equal opportunity to win. If there's one strategy that beats everything, it's like...
Hold on. What I'm saying is that, so that's an endpoint where that will emerge. But right now, there's just no statistical evidence to really support that. There's still a wide variety of players playing all the races, still able to win at high levels. And I just, again, with that sort of situation, I just don't see the use in debating real ultra-specific things when there still seems to be so many solutions that are still available on the table.
Specific, though. Lack of scouting, number of aggressive builds, weakness of defense, and the lack of aggressive potential from the defense you have to build. Those aren't, it's not like specific details or something that's likely to change with the development of the game. It's fundamental problems with the race.
But again, like when you say those sorts of statements, like it's just so vague. Like you scout and then
it's not really vague. You put a Marine on the perimeter and Overlord's not getting in. Zergling literally cannot get through a wall in. Terran has a number of builds, any of which can kill Zerg flat out if they're caught off guard, or can do significant damage if they're trying to play all-purpose defensive. And Roaches and Lings, and Banelings to a lesser extent, are so easily nullified by building walls and bunkers, and then tanks later on. It's just...
Yeah, see, and the issue I have with that line of reasoning is that you have heard Terrans and Protosses make the same sort of responses, or the same sort of phraseology when referring to their own matchups. I just don't feel like in this circumstance, like if you say that, I don't know what the end goal is. Like, are you saying that, like, oh, it should be changed or this or that? What I'm saying is it's venting because you're having a lot of frustrating situations, and I still feel like there's so many solutions that are still there.
What are the solutions to those problems I just listed? How do you get an Overlord in past the Marine? What is the all-purpose ZVT?
Because the solution is not how do you get the Overlord past the Marine. Perhaps it's how does Jeff Plyo his face into various shapes. No, but I mean, like, it's perhaps the solution is that you don't actually need to try to figure out a way to get the Overlord in.
That's what I said. Then what's the all-purpose ZV defensive build? Because either you know what they're doing, or you have a build that can deal with everything, or there's some other way to get that information. So there is no way to get that information, and there is no build that counters everything. That is a fundamental problem.
Well, I don't think that there's one build that counters everything. I would agree with that statement.
No, I said there isn't one, and there is no way to scout what they're doing within reason. So one of those has to be true, or Zerg is going to end up with a disadvantage or a coin flip at best.
Nah.
You either have to be able to scout, or you have to be able to defend without scouting. Otherwise, it's a guessing game.
I just don't agree with that statement, and it would take so long to actually go in depth with that.
What is wrong with it?
Well, I mean, it's like saying, this race doesn't have good aggressive potential, and then just stopping.
That's not what I said. I said
Yeah.
Terran has a ton of good aggressive builds, right? Banshees,
sure.
Hellions, any kind of biopressure, Marauder, Hellion, all-ins, you can expand, anything like that. They have a ton of options all across the board, from economic to ridiculously all-in, everything in between. Zerg cannot scout. Marines can prevent Overlord scouting if you are at all careful about it, and it's not a huge investment. You just need 2 or 3 Marines on the perimeter. And wall-ins block any kind of ground scouting. Zerglings, drones can't get in, right?
And what I would argue is that whenever you do see the tech path that they went down,
How do you see that?
Whenever they do their aggressive moves. So, like, let's say a
So
Banshee
after the
comes
attack
out.
is on the way to your base.
Well, let's say a Banshee comes out or something like that, or like the 2 racks of Marine. Once they've gone down that path, I honestly think that the Terran is highly limited upon that reveal occurring. So you can actually
Highly limited, but if you have to respond after the attack is on the way, you die.
I would need to see the specific replay example to, like, because it's so easy to say, oh, if the attack's coming, you just don't respond quickly enough and you die. And
That's
just lump it
true,
up like
though.
that. And that's... Jeff's now texting.
What? No?
Sean,
This is amazing.
Sean, your brother wants to come back in the call. He says that IdrA is right. Should I allow this to happen?
Dude, totally go for it.
All right. We'll bring him back in here.
I mean, basically what I'm saying is
Guys.
that, like, I don't agree that Zerg is just, like, violently underpowered. And I also don't see the usefulness in discussing it.
But
and
we're
going in
explaining why. And you're unable to say anything in response to it besides saying that you disagree. So that seems kind of stupid to me.
Well, I just feel like there are areas that haven't been explored yet in terms of, like...
What areas? How are we going to scout? What is our all-purpose defensive build? Because one of those has to be the case. Either you have to be able to know what's happening, or you have to be able to defend it without knowing it's happening. If you can't, then it's going to be a guessing game at best, which is terrible even if it is balanced. If it's going to be 50-50, it's still fucking bad for the game, fucking bad for esports.
I mean, what I would say is that I would have builds and play around with them a lot.
Okay. Give me a few suggestions, because I'm lost.
I don't know, I've never really seen you try Spanishiwa style with, like, the mass queen
I
no
did
gas.
it in NASL last week.
Oh, I didn't see it. Have you ever done it on your stream? Because I haven't been watching it.
If you make that many queens early on, it sets you behind if they go economical. You can't tell if they're going economical because you can't scout again.
Well, I mean, that's a style that feels, like, really flexible that, like, I haven't really seen
Very
it
good
explore much.
defensively, but that's just disregarding the fact that they can expand as well.
Nick.
I've been fucking lurking in this little channel for a little bit. I gotta say, actually, it's really interesting to debate. I kind of agree with IdrA, though. I think, like, honestly, Zerg doesn't have a lot of options. I mean, the fundamental difference between StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2 is that, for instance, in StarCraft 1, you know, when Zerg knows that Terran's going to push out, Terran basically only has 2 options. One is mech, and the other is to go bio. And it's almost always the same composition. For instance, like 3 tanks, a science vessel. Why is Greg making that crazy look?
What?
Oh, wait, our webcam's back on?
No, it hasn't.
Oh, is the screen all messed up? No, but anyways, going off what I was saying, I think right now Terran, when they push out, for instance, they have so many different things they can do that it's just really difficult for Zerg to actually deal with.
Well,
You play-
so you guys, Greg, you're saying that you think the Sunken Colony was stronger in Brood War, so that's why Zerg's able to get by?
Not stronger, but it built faster. It could be a reactive. Like, you could put down if nothing else, you could put down a bunch of creep colonies and then morph them to spines or sunkens and have them ready in time. You didn't have to completely commit.
What
Here,
you're really upset about then is the spine crawler. If we were just to make it build faster, you'd be happy.
I don't know, Banshees are better than any of the air options Terran had in StarCraft 1, but yeah, making a spine crawler possible as a reactive defense.
Hey,
Wraiths
I'll
were
be
not
right
that
back,
good.
guys. Sorry, somebody's at the door.
The Wraith was a bitch, my man. The Wraith was a real bitch.
Banshees are a bigger bitch. But no, the fact that spine crawlers, they take 50 seconds to build, that's just like, I don't think there's any map with a 50-second rush distance. And so they cannot be a reactive defense. And that's a pretty big problem.
How do you... So for me to get in this conversation, we got to bring it back to ZVP. And for me, like, I never see a Zerg lose a game where I can't point out, like, a mistake that they made.
Well, that's true of everything, though. No one's playing perfectly. I'm saying that Zergs have to play a lot better than Protosses or Terrans to win, in general, or get lucky. Because, I mean, shit happens, yeah.
Well, there's certain strats that Protoss do, but I think the problem is you're playing against a Protoss that flips a coin, and you don't want to flip a coin too. You want to be able to beat them. You know that you can outplay them in a fair game, but they're flipping a coin for a free advantage, and you want to be able to be in that disadvantaged situation that they took a risk to get into and to still beat them. And in order to do that, you have to outplay them. That's your whole thing, is you're a better player. So when people take risks against you, you're going to let that happen, and people are going to get into a better situation than you, and you're going to outplay them, and you're going to catch up. You're going to do something Gosu and win the game. So I think sometimes you might think that the Protoss is doing like a really solid build, but actually they took a risk. So they, did a build that's weak against some crazy all-in that Zerg can do. And they're like, okay, if the Zerg does this crazy shit, then I automatically lose. But, I'm hoping he doesn't do it, and then he gets ahead. And I feel like you're kind of in that same situation. You know that there's 4 or 5 builds that a Protoss or a Terran can open with against Zerg, and if you could just throw out one of those options and say, well, look, I'm going to lose against that if they do it, but I'm going to be ready for everything else. Well, then you could be in a very comfortable situation. So I feel like there isn't so much imbalance as it is that risky play is paying off a lot against Zerg right now. Because Zergs are trying to play safe, and Terran and Protoss can get away with risky play a lot. At least Protoss. I'll throw a Terran out of it because I'm not an expert on that matchup. But at least Protoss might be taking some risk. And so you have to outplay them. They play worse than you, and they win anyway because they did something risky, and the only way you could punish them for that is for yourself to do something risky.
Oh, that's definitely true. Like I said, I've been cheesing a lot more ZVP, and I've been having success just because people don't expect me to do it, so it takes advantage of those risks they're taking. And I still do believe there is imbalance later on in the game. I think that there are problems later on in the game, too. It's just easier to address the early game. But even if that were true, it was just purely a matter of risk versus risk, and there was no imbalance at all. That would still be terrible design for the game.
I agree.
That's unreliable results.
I agree that would be bad design.
I think Zerg comes out of it the worst because it is the defensive race, and because of all the mechanics, the Chrono and Larva and Mules reactors, I feel that that Zerg is going to be the defensive race in most of these situations, and that the defensive race is at a disadvantage because all those mechanics boost offensive power and aggression more than defense, generally speaking. I just feel it makes the early game too risky in general. But that's more of a game design problem than balance problem, so the discussion's kind of shifting.
Well, it's at least eliminating some of the problems that people might be thinking are under the balance heading, and instead pushing them over toward the game design heading.
Yeah. So that was fun.
JP had to go.
JP just left town, man.
He said he has an emergency. What were we talking about? It was the IPL?
Muted my mic. I was actually here.
There he
yeah.
is. I was going to take over for you.
I was just saying that was an interesting conversation. We're 170 viewers short of 20K right now. So, Greg, you've done your best efforts. I think it's actually going to happen. We're 40 away right now. Feels like we're counting down to the
17.
It's happening.
There we go. 2023.
There we go.
Heyo.
So congratulations, IdrA. You have to talk for a week, and I got to pay your bar tab. Everyone else doesn't really care. So let's talk about IPL Season 2 that was announced. There's an open casting call for casters right now. 4 qualifiers for the IPL 2, where each one is going to have, I think, 8 participants come through. There are 4 qualified, 4 from IPL 1, 4 for the last qualifier, then 8 for the other 3, $50,000. And just watching Season 1, I want to know if you guys have any suggestions, or if IPL even needs to improve on anything. If Season 1 was just kind of like a Cinderella story, in the sense that nothing actually went wrong for them. And I don't know who's actually going to want to talk about this, so you guys can feel free to jump in whenever. Nothing?
I unfortunately have been missing a lot of streams lately, so...
I mean, I'll say that I think they've kind of had like they have like their drawings and stuff, right, and their voices, and I think they actually got to change that a little bit season to season. I don't know. That's kind of not something I'm completely confident in, because maybe they can make their own style of art and presentation of the games, but on the other hand, maybe they would want to do something new every single season.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not sure where they're going to go with that. People might get bored if it's the same style all the time, but if they want to do something new, then that's got to be cool. If the new direction they go into, like creatively, is kind of silly, then that could like bring them down. But yeah, their production value and their organization, all that kind of stuff, seems to be pretty good. So those are the core to running a league. So as long as they keep that up, it should be pretty good.
Nick, has any of the GSL guys over there noticed the IPL, or have you guys watched it and kind of seen what you guys can maybe either take from them or build upon from them?
To be totally honest, I haven't had much of an opportunity to watch the IPL. I've been pretty busy down here.
Understandable.
Good stuff.
I was just wondering. IPL though, have they announced when the qualifiers are going to be? I think there's dates for all that.
I think it's in the thread. Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking about the qualifiers.
Pretty soon.
Yeah. It's starting pretty soon, a lot faster than I was thinking. 50,000 for the entire tournament, so it's good to see that. But let's start talking about the NASL. And if you've been watching this, you kind of, or if you've been reading Team Liquid, you heard about some stuff, obviously, in week 1. But if you watched it week 1 and you haven't watched since then, it is night and day. The NASL is actually an incredible production right now. If you are not tuning in, you are missing out on one of the best StarCraft 2 productions, one of the best StarCraft 2 tournaments out there. Jeff, I just have to applaud you and also your co-caster and also all the NASL staff over there for just completely turning it around. And it is an incredible tournament right now. What are some of the matches, looking back week 3, that you would kind of point people to?
Week 3. See, I'm in this weird time.
It all kind of blurs together right now, probably, I'm sure.
Well, it's that, we're casting week 4 right now, but I can't talk about that.
Right.
Week 3, hang on.
I could pull up some of the matches if you want.
Actually, MC versus Ace.
That was probably one of the bigger upsets.
Well, kind of. Ace looks unbeatable right now, and I don't know if we can even consider it an upset, but it was a cool PvP, amazing micro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you could fire off some of the matchups, that would help jog my memory.
Well, Tyler played against Sock. That was the last match of
That was the week I played Mana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked
that
about
wasn't a good series.
the Tyler Sock series. That was a 2-1, right?
No, the Mana one, as I was talking about. The Sock one was PvP is either really cool or like totally boring.
Right.
It was pretty well.
Let me pull up the schedule here real quick for the last week. What is this? Full schedule. So we've got, let's see, that was Saturday. We had Sin, Pain User, Mana, IdrA, Druby Cloud, Boxer, Xenio, Tyler Sock, MC Ace, Hasuov's Machine, Select, Stall Life, Rhett Goody, Brad OK, Cats, Hey Pro Squirtle, Quiri Slush, Moonglade Axlov, Not Astrelec, DDE, Naniwa, just stop me whenever, Jeff. Show July, Moman and Snare, Dark Force TT1, QXD, and Control. That was a pretty good series. I remember a lot of people were hyped about that. And then White Rock Cruncher started off the week. Or no, excuse me, that was day 2. Phoenix Vibe, Moro Kibikaki, Artosis Moon, Grubby Sheth, and TLO Rainbow.
It was actually a funny week because I feel like we were lucky the first 2 weeks we had really, really good games and we were really happy with that. And we were like, yay, everything's amazing. And then week 3, the games kind of sucked, to be quite frank. There was a lot of okay series. People enjoyed our TLO Rainbow cast because we just like...
Yeah, you guys were going...
all you could do is have fun in that series because it was a brutal massacre otherwise. Like, TLO made it look silly. And I'll do a spoiler. There's one of those this week coming up that you'll see tomorrow.
People look forward to that.
Hopefully people have fun with it because I did.
Tomorrow's matches are Mora Moon, Sheth TLO, Grubby Vibe, Rainbow Kibikaki, and Phoenix against Artosis. Artosis kind of having a rough time right now, Jeff.
He's a really good caster. He's a really good caster.
Greg, what did you say?
That won't continue. He's my favorite to win the league.
Yeah. He's buckling down. He told us that this week he's going to unleash something special. And when Artosis says that someone is really good, you know that he's 100% full of shit. So this week. Tune into that Artosis matchup, and I think you're in for a treat.
Nick, you got anything to say about your co-caster in the NASL?
Yeah, well, he's just been casting a lot, the time difference and stuff. But look, when Dan's in good shape, he can perform pretty well.
10 years ago, he was great. He was a really good player.
Actually, he took some games off Jellizer a little while ago, so he's not in terrible shape in general. But there's something funny about Dan. Sometimes he just has terrible luck in these tournaments, or he gets overconfident. I think overconfidence at times can be the biggest issue.
And people don't really acknowledge how big a problem the time and latency is for the Koreans.
Yeah.
Like, I'm surprised
It's amazing.
Yeah, the
Well, I heard
latency
it's different.
especially.
Like, the OGS house has a good connection, so some of those guys can play quite well. But then with other players, it's really obvious that they're having a terrible time. So,
I don't know. Actually, a friend had me play some of the OGS guys on North America the other night, and they were just fucking awful. Like, there's no way to not have latency be a game-changing issue from Korea. No, not an insult to them. It's just like latency is a problem.
There's nothing more sad than fucking throwing up a bunch of force fields and just crossing your fingers with lag and being like, all right, and like sometimes it's good. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I trapped the lings in my base.
Yeah.
it's true. I've seen some pretty good games, though. I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm talking TSL and NASL. Every time I see the Koreans, there are some where it's like obvious they're struggling. And then there's others where it's like, I don't see him miss a beat, actually. It looks quite good.
Yeah.
You can look at it. Honestly, no result of a player playing from Korea should be given any merit at all. Like, they can win, they can lose, but it's not meaningful. It's such a huge handicap. The results should not be taken with the results should not be taken seriously at all.
Is there any difference playing from Korea to America than America to Korea in terms of lag? I mean, is it pretty much the same? Tyler, I know you've done that. In your experience, was it just as bad almost?
Well, I haven't played Korea to America, but
maybe Jeff might actually know. Maybe though.
I have had like various experiences, America to Korea. Like, I know before the earthquake in Japan, I was actually like a couple days before that, I was getting really good latency to Korea. It felt really good for me. And I was like, wow, this is good enough. Like, I might just practice 100% on Korea now. And then the earthquake happened, and my latency was worse. And I heard it was affecting a lot of people's latencies both ways, Korea to America and America to Korea. And then so I didn't try it for a long time, and I actually haven't tried it for a while. But now might be a good time to try it again. I don't know if they've actually like replaced
Changed
whatever
anything.
lines that might have gotten messed up
Whatever
or rerouted or whatever. But for a moment it was actually pretty good for me. But like I said, it got better. It seemed to get better for me for no reason. And America's a big place. Someone playing from the East Coast might have it worse from someone playing from Texas or from the West Coast. So I'm sure there will be quite a variety of experiences.
Greg, I know you played on the American servers sometimes, every now and then when you were over in Korea, correct?
Yeah, I tried to avoid. I turned down tournaments and stuff just because it was so bad. The only thing I really played was the EG Masters Cup show matches and stuff because it's obvious. It was my team. They want me to play it. I'll play it.
Yeah.
But it was bad enough that I was refusing to play in tournaments on North America.
Well, we'll have to see if there's any better routing or anything like that in the future, or if the Korean participants over here in the Western tournaments just have to deal with it and kind of adapt to it. Let's go ahead and move on. There was some controversy this past week. EG, you guys obviously announced your new Masters Cup. The format is now going to have a 2v2, and this is the first thing we'll talk about here. If you guys ever watched the Ghost Coaching Premier League, it's pretty much the exact format. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff or IdrA or Machine. But there's 3 1v1s, 2v2 for the fourth match, and then if that goes on, there's a last match where it's a 1v1 ace match. I just want to know, what do you guys think about this format? We'll start off with Jeff.
The 2 vs 2 is exciting. It's interesting too because it is a highly untested realm of StarCraft 2, and everyone cites the Machinima League where everyone had a set map that they were the 2 vs 2 team for, And they're like, look at the games it produced, when actually it produced some pretty awesome games, by the way. I mean, people didn't like the cheese factor, but I'm sorry, that's part of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 2 vs. 2. Like, go back to Brood War for the most heinous cheeses you've ever seen in your life. That's where it happened. So it'll be interesting because teams aren't necessarily designed around that clan war format, which is kind of nostalgic for me because in Brood War, I was always on teams that were amazing but sucked ass because we didn't have a 2 vs. 2 team. Media comes to mind, so...
Me and you playing fucking goddamn.
So... And there
a
just
lot of
happens
media
to be
people
5
now.
media guys here, by the way.
Yeah, including Nick.
We actually have a lot of media people here. That just occurred to me.
Can I also just say
We were
that
terrible at 2-on-2.
Yeah,
We were fucking awful.
Fuck, we were so bad, man.
Dude, we needed it needed to be LJT and Magoo. Those guys were the sickest.
Oh,
2v2
yeah.
teams. They never lost 2v2, and they never spoke during games.
Yeah, I was
They
about to
just
say, every time
were
I ever
divine.
2-on-2 with LJT, he never talked once.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it was eerie. But like,
yeah.
the one thing I want to throw out there is I don't know why the 2v2 is the 4th game. It should like be the 3rd game. So there's
it always
a
happens.
2v2.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of weird. Like, I hope we win a 1v1 so we can get our 2v2 team out there. I mean, I think it's great that the 2v2's in there. I just honestly think the order should be swapped.
I gotta say, casting 2v2s is a billion times more fun casting 1v1s than casting 1v1s, just because of how much shit there is going on. The games are always exciting because there's always cheese most of the time involved. There's always something afoot on all the maps. So I'm pretty excited to see all of that. Tyler, what are your thoughts on the 2v2s?
What the fuck?
Oh, did you not finish, Jeff?
No.
My bad. Continue on then.
It's okay.
Jeff.
It's okay. I forgive you.
I apologize.
I listened to IdrA and Day 9 yell at each other for like an hour, so I feel
So did
like
I.
Now's my chance.
I got
By
five
the way,
minutes
the
of viewers,
2
that
vs.
was
2
cool.
balance in StarCraft 2 is atrocious, everyone!
You and Tyler will get your chance to talk soon, Jeff.
I know. Thank you. Anyways, the best of 1 format is both exciting. No, excuse me. It got changed to best of 3, so I'm going to change that. Correct that. That's cool. I feel like best of 3 is more legitimate. And then the ace match. There's nothing more exciting, in my opinion, than an ace match where it all boils down to 2 teams selecting their best player. Produces some amazing games. Actually, the GCPL Grand Finals had Sen versus Naniwa for the grand finale, the
That
ace
was
match.
awesome. I saw that live. That was
And it
so
goes
good.
3-2. If you haven't seen that series, go watch it now. It's an amazing PvZ series. And oddly, the Zerg actually won that. That's fucked up.
You realize how
Actually-
much better Sen is than Naniwa?
Oh, I'm sure you would say he's much, much better. Yeah.
Much,
Naniwa's
much
not that good. He's not that good, right? He's
He shouldn't be, but he plays
no,
Protoss.
he
so
shouldn't
pretty
be. No, he's probably one of the best fucking players right now. But
good. Best Protoss player.
it's yes, Greg. He does play Protoss. Thank you. It's going to be a really good format, as far as I'm concerned. I'm excited about the ace matches and the teams and stuff. 8 of the best teams in the whole planet, man. Really good teams.
Tyler, your thoughts on 2v2? Think it's a competitive format?
I've never been a fan of 2v2. That's just me, though. Like, in StarCraft 1, there's always been a team league called the Pro League, and they had 2v2 for a long, long time, for years, and then they decided to take it out, and some people were upset, oh, the 2v2 is gone, and I think most people were kind of okay with it. The game is a 1v1 game, and everyone, for the most part, practices 1v1, so I don't know. I'm good without 2v2, but you know, I'm not going to play 2v2s for Liquid if it comes down to it. So not my problem.
Dude, 1v1 players, like, those skills do not transfer to, like, 2v2. 2v2
No,
is like a whole different ball
it's
game.
not.
Like,
Yeah.
so, like, that's going to be really interesting to me to see, like, who rises as, like, the 2v2 players, because it's really easy to not give those players credit, but as Nick knows, you know, like, with Magoo and LJT winning almost every single... Did they even lose a 2v2 for RS?
Dude, you got to slow down. They played against Mondragon and Testy and lost like every time.
Oh, no, Mondragon and
Testy.
Testy were phenomenal as a 2v2 team. I'm going to, like, completely just push that aside, but, like, other than Mondragon and Testy, who just, like,
some
crushed them.
players happen to be the best 2 vs 2 team? No.
Well,
No, like, so-
you're asking if they ever lost a 2 versus, and I was like, careful.
No, like in our clan leagues, but Testy was on RS, so he would like sometimes play there. But like, I mean, like, I'm not saying only one player can't be good at 2v2, but like, I'm really interested to see like what people like rise out, because honestly, I think that if you took all the teams and just grabbed like 2 of those amazing 1v1 players and slapped them together, that like a lot of just the people that you could grab off the top 10 of like the 2v2 ladder for the world ranking would likely win like pretty easily. So I'm hoping that it lets 2v2 develop, because I think that it's like such an incredibly fun like space. It's so easy to think that it's just like a giant cheese fest until like you get people who are really good at like both performing and holding those early aggressions off. So like, I just hope more tournaments include more 2v2s.
Nick, are you still there? Done cleaning?
Yeah, I'm cleaning, slowing down. Do you want me to turn my cam on?
Yeah, you can. I'll pull it in here in the call in just a second after Mystery did it. But what are your thoughts on 2v2? Have you had any experience over in the Korean side of things, maybe in Brood War, casting any 2v2s?
I have casted 2-on-2s in Brood War, yeah, and I did play a little bit of 2-on-2, but I was never that good. To be totally honest, I have not casted a single 2-on-2 in StarCraft 2.
I mean, how do you think that format is going to work just from your Brood War experiences? You think it's going to be fun and exciting, or does it have a place in competitive StarCraft?
I know that televised StarCraft 1 2-on-2 gets way less views in Korea, which I believe is one of the reasons why they pushed that out in some of the major tournaments, because a lot of times people had a hard time following it. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes commentators have a little bit more of a difficult time analyzing it, but I mean, it'll be interesting to see some 2-on-2s in StarCraft 2 competitive games, but I do know for sure that it gets a lot less views.
Yeah.
In TV ratings.
Well, we'll have to see how that does for the Masters Cup. The next thing spawned from the Team Liquid forums, and it was the fact that Team Liquid is actually not participating in this event. Tyler, Jeff, I'm not sure how you guys want to handle this, or even if you want to speak to this, but
Another cat fight?
Yeah, I mean, it might happen. It might. We'll see. But you guys can say what you want to say. I'm not going to actually have you. This isn't an official statement from Team Liquid or Evil Geniuses or anything. I just want to know what your thoughts were on the fact that Team Liquid is not participating in the event and kind of how that came to be. So we'll start off with Tyler, and then Jeff can have his words right after.
Well, I think the main issue is the server issue. Team Liquid has been kind of, going along with all the team leagues. Every single time a team league pops up and we get invited, there's always an internal discussion. Are players in Korea willing to submit themselves to playing on a different server? And, they get represented worse than they actually are. Or they have to spend a lot of time getting used to the latency. Either way, it's not a good situation. So it's definitely a little more difficult for us to participate in team leagues. And for this one, we finally decided, we're just going to say no, we're not going to participate unless we can get some server swapping going on, some kind of situation better than every single game is played on North America by default. And I think I'll get to this later, but I feel like leagues kind of have this flaw where they decide pretty much everything that they're going to do, and then the very last thing they do is go and approach teams and players for their invites and say, this is how we're running the league, do you want to play in it? And it's a yes or no. And even though, as far as I know, EG tried to do a little compromising with Team Liquid, and we weren't able to resolve it. I feel like leagues kind of, in general, leave themselves very little wiggle room. They put together a package, and then they just present it to players for invites, and it's a yes or no, and then that's it. And I really feel like a better situation can come from approaching players and teams first and saying, okay, we're putting together a league. Do you have any concerns about how we're going to run it? That kind of thing. And so when they're figuring out logistics and before deadlines are set and sponsors are locked in and expecting something at a specific date in a specific way, you can get in with the people that you're going to be working with eventually and figure things out. And so that's kind of a regret for me, and that's not specific to EG or to this league and the way things are being run, but I think that's a more general complaint for me. But then the other side of this issue, aside from us just not playing in it, was this thread on Team Liquid. And my problem with that was, I feel like when there's a controversial issue, you should just present both sides of the story as fairly as possible. And I feel like what EG did kind of there, and I think it was Colby mostly, but I mean, I don't want to say it was EG. Everyone at EG is responsible for this if that's not the case, but I don't want to single out Colby either. But I felt like they were just concerned about their side of the story. And for me, when I see something like, people naturally ask, why isn't Liquid in this league? And then the response from EG is, well, we invited him and they decided not to play. Well, I don't feel like that. The thing that someone would think after reading that is much different than what they would think after reading that there's an unresolvable issue with servers. The implication there is a little bit different. And so there's nothing inaccurate or even provocative, I think, about what I said in response to that, which was Liquid showed interest in playing this league, and EG didn't accommodate us, because I feel like we're actually on the same level there. You got a league that wants to work with players and teams to put together a product which is a competition, which is going to get views that a sponsor wants to get, and then you get money from the sponsor, and then you got players that want to work with leagues and play in these leagues, and you're kind of working together, and you both have things that you want to do. There's things that are too hard for the players and the teams to do, and the league's got to accommodate that. And then there's limitations for the leagues. The leagues can't bend over backwards accommodating every little thing that a player or team wants. And it's a little bit of back and forth, and I think that people should respect that a little more, and not just think, well, a league puts something together and they invite people and you say yes or no. That's just kind of a silly way to go about it. And anyway, and then so EG responded to that, and it was specifically Colby, and I felt like just explained EG's side of things, and then I felt like I explained my side of things, but at that point it was getting a little heated for me. So that's just the way it is. But I think there was also a little extra twist to the issue that, yeah, they're coming to a forum and posting on a forum, and it's beyond me just being a player on Team Liquid. This is a forum where I have 5,000 posts, and where it's like a home for me, and it's where I've been saying whatever I feel like saying for a long time. And so my role there as a poster is less as representing Liquid, and more just like, this is a community, this is my community, and you're coming here, and you have you're a nobody here, and you're posting this, and I'm like somebody here, and I gotta defend myself, kind of thing. And yeah, but for EG, it's like they're just gonna post their league, and they're basically doing their jobs, like public relations, representing themselves. They're not gonna admit fault in any way that they can make themselves look better. They're just going to make themselves look better because there's a lot of importance to image there. And I don't really like that. I feel like Team Liquid Forums is a place where everyone can just speak honestly, and issues can be uprooted, and everything can come out.
Well, I know Day 9 has to go, so Day 9,
Yeah.
before the fireworks go.
Thank you, Jeff.
Bye! Hang up the phone.
Bye.
Sean.
Is that?
Yeah. This is your exit right here. Here's your moment, Sean.
Hi guys, I'm Day 9. Follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/Day9TV. Day9TV.blip.tv to watch the archives for the daily. Actually, if you go to Twitter, all the links are there. And that is all. And now I have to go do schoolwork on my computer that is being miraculously stable tonight.
It's very good.
Pretty excited about it, yeah.
Thanks again for coming on, Sean.
See you, Sean.
Peace.
See you.
Peace.
So hopefully this
Well,
will
Tyler,
just slide in. But Jeff,
We have been friends for a very long time, so it's about to get all real up in here real quick. First and foremost, with the tournament structure format, you would like tournaments to be thought up in someone's head, and before they approach anyone with rules or sets, they want to go to each team they're thinking about inviting, but not inviting because that would be too far down a logistical line, and saying, hey, are there any ideas you guys have about a tournament that you may or may not have a problem with that may or may not happen when it's sponsored by this or this team or sponsor? You think they should do that?
That's what TSL did. I mean, when people who haven't run a league like they're about to run ever before are going to run a league, I feel like if they just really don't know what they're doing or they don't know what the people they're working with or potentially going to work with are going to want, I feel like, yeah, that's where they've got to start. If you've been doing it for a while and you've been running successful leagues and people know what to expect from you, then yeah, you can just do it on your own. But I feel like looking at the TSL when that first started up, even those guys, you know, like the Team Liquid staff, they knew pretty well what it would take to run a league, but still you had them consulting a variety of players from day one on every single issue. Basically every single issue they had maybe 5 or 10 players that they ran it by, and they're just like figuring it all out. So I wouldn't really say that it's a standard that leagues have to do, but I feel like when you're doing something new and when you're in a little bit of uncharted territory, then yeah, you should kind of in your mind plan it all out and see how it's going to work. And before you approach that plan with a sponsor, you should approach that plan with some players, not every single player, but with some players in any way that you can foresee a problem, a little hitch might be occurring, then yeah, I think you should try to talk it out. And like this thread right now,
consult players just to speak specifically to this, and they have ran tournaments previously. It's not their first rodeo. I mean, they did take those steps. No, nobody thought to say, hey, what about the TSL model? So I don't think it's necessarily fair to hold that against EG and say that because you didn't run a tournament based on this one tournament that ran this format the one way recently, and had its problems too. It's not like it's a perfect. It's obviously the better situation for a terrible problem that we all have to deal with. But when you have a North American-based team that wants to run a North American-based tournament because that's where its sponsorships are, I mean, that's what it's trying to broadcast to, and they do seek out consultations with players, don't you think it's a bit presumptuous to assume that they didn't and then lambast them for it?
Well, what players in Korea did they talk to? They intended to invite players in Korea to play in their league. And what player in Korea did they say, is this going to be a problem? I mean, they got Craig back in North America, and now they're like, great, we can run a team league and have all of our players play on grade latency.
You are correct. I would assume they did not contact Koreans to ask them about this. But they did talk to people around the league. So I'm speaking more to the formality of in formulation of a league, because you were speaking to the logistics of setting up a league, so I was just trying to clarify that they in fact did do that. Now, speaking specifically to the thread, I have no problem with someone not liking something that was like done in a league. Obviously, I'm very outspoken and have been in the past, to a fault many a time, obviously. But it's a little odd to me to, and I know you were very careful not to say that you're specifically picking out Colby, but Colby's job as representative of EG is to give a neutered response to anything. Like, people obviously want to see Team Liquid, so they're like, hey, where's Team Liquid? He's not going to come out and say, well, we tried to talk it through with Team Liquid, but they decided that they're not happy with our rules, so they're not going to show up. So he said the most basic PR response you could possibly imagine, which is, we invited them, and they didn't want to play. So then he leaves it to Team Liquid to give a response, and Tyler, wearing the Team Liquid tag on the Team Liquid forums, comes in and says something that, you gave the light defense that it was not aggressive, but I'll tell you, it was widely interpreted as aggressive, and it is. And then he followed up calling him pathetic, which is aggressive, and that's what I think you grade over by saying that you were heated at that point in time. We'll get to that in a second, but, can't you see how that's a little problematic? Like, of course he's not going to speak for Team Liquid. It's not his job to.
Well, yeah, sure, but if he's going to come to our community and post in it and then just have these one-dimensional responses which are pretty much worthless, then then he should be called out and be ridiculed and laughed out of the community. I mean, I don't see why there's any room on the forum for that. Like, there's no
that's
room
a really
for...
bully perspective to have, though, Tyler. I've got 30,000 posts. It's more than you. Do I have any more right than you do?
No, it's not about how many posts you have. It's about what kind of what are you contributing to the forum, because that's what forums have always been about.
He's bringing
like,
a $10,000 league to the community. Isn't that pretty good?
No, but what is he bringing to the forum when he replies to that thread? It's basically anyone. You could give any intelligent person, say, hey, you need to take on the role of being the EG PR guy and spin this so that it's good for EG. Make a post. That's exactly the same contribution that you'll get from any of these EG people posting in that thread. It doesn't really contribute anything.
Let's distill it to the root, though. Wouldn't you find it inappropriate if Colby actually spoke for Team Liquid and said the reasons why they did not play? Isn't it best for him to just say, we invited them, they didn't accept, that's it? So you have a problem with Colby as a person, like it should have been
maybe
a Team
an
Liquid.
EG press release. I don't know why he comes to the forum and says that.
Because someone asked. And it's a forum where people talk. I mean, are you saying that Colby can't talk on Team Liquid because
I'm just saying
enough?
I'm just saying it's deceptive. I'm saying if you have a controversial issue like that, and when you know there's two sides of it,
How is
then
that controversial? I mean, it wasn't all the details, but that was the case. Liquid was invited but declined. He didn't go into the reasons, but what he said was accurate.
I think if he goes into the reasons, he's a jackass, and he knows that. That's why he didn't do it. It's not to be aired in the public forum. Like,
no, I'm saying that when you clear the air on EG's side and make it clear that EG didn't act inappropriately in this situation, but you don't clear the air for Liquid, then that's deceptive. You're just saying, like, we did our job. And then...
That's pretty defensive, though. They did not... It's not pointing the finger at Team Liquid and saying that they didn't accept. Like,
It's just saying that was the response to the...
You don't have to accept every invite, right? Like, Team Liquid's turned down other tournaments. I know that you turned down going to the IPL, and like, that's fine. Right? I mean, I think part of the problem I have, Tyler, is not with Team Liquid not participating, because that's totally fine. People are going to disagree with rules. But I think it's problematic and dangerous, too, because Hotbit actually spoke to the contrary to your opinion right now, by the way. As an administrator of Team Liquid, he said that, listen, this is newsworthy. We're a community. We're not going to turn people away. Of course people can talk about it. So, I mean, saying that, like, you have 5,000 posts and you've contributed to the forum, so Colby has no right to, like, to not defend Team Liquid or something like that. I feel like that's a little bit problematic. It's almost bullying.
Well, I'm not. It doesn't come down to the post so much. It comes down to someone just being so one-dimensional on the forums. Like, EG brings a tournament to the community. He doesn't bring it to the forums, though. The forums are a separate place. Okay, you can post that you're running a tournament on EG's website, and then whatever news websites want to cover that, they're going to cover it. But when you come to one community's, one news site's forum and post it in their forum, and then do PR from there, that's a totally different situation. I think
every tournament's done that, Tyler.
No,
Team Liquid is the community.
Is the
I mean,
it's not just some random.
What you're essentially saying right now is Team Liquid, as a team and a community website, is one and the same. So that if other teams host a tournament, it's controversial and problematic for Team Liquid. And I'll tell you, the official word from the people that run that website is quite contrary to that, because the reason is that is a terrible stance. Like, if you want to make the argument that EG can only post news and then not discuss their tournaments on the community website for StarCraft 2, you're hurting the growth of StarCraft 2. I mean, that would be bad.
It is
not you personally, the proverbial you. Like, if Team Liquid hypothetically took that stance, it would be really detrimental to everyone.
It is the forum, and the whole point of it is discussion. If you try and limit that, it defeats the whole purpose of Team Liquid to a large extent.
So, you should be praising me for sparking this huge-ass discussion. I mean, Colby told half the story, I told the other half the story, and then that event got, like, more views than any other event that got announced in that time space, and then a huge discussion started over that, where a lot of progress was made, I think, on the issue.
So you plan this from the very start, Tyler?
What's the problem with my response? If I think
the whole reason it sparked a lot of
you plan
discussion
this whole
is
thing, Mister.
what?
the whole reason it sparked a lot of discussion is because a lot of people disagree with it, and it's kind of a weird response.
Well, I do agree with you, Tyler. I do owe you a tremendous applause because you did bring more attention to this, so thank you very much. I do appreciate that. But the topic on hand is more about the sentiments of how it was handled. Like, in the future, because they want to run more seasons. Are they going to announce it on Team Liquid? You bet your ass, because it's the community website. And when they do, if Team Liquid is still saying, like, let's say the new issue for Team Liquid is, we will not play unless our jerseys are on the front page, and then, like, they're not in the tournament. Team EG does not come out and say, here's the 8 teams, and PS in, like, italics, because that's what you do when you make sub-announcements. Team Liquid's not participating because they wanted their jerseys on the front page. We decided that wasn't beneficial for our tournament, so they're not going to participate. That's aggressive language. That's not good. It's not their business to say that side of the story.
I'm just saying, like, Colby was called out to explain the situation, and he just did a absolutely shitty job of explaining the situation. He explained EG's side of the situation, and that was it. And you're saying it's his job to do that?
No,
You said your side too, so you turned it down.
EG's side of the situation would be like, we're running a tournament that's focused on North America. There's too many logistical problems to include players from Korea under fair circumstances. Liquid is a great team, so we invited them, but we understand that they turned down the invite because it was not great playing conditions for them. He didn't explain all that. He just said we invited them. And then for Liquid, we'd have all of your reasons that you just listed out. But he just said they turned down the invite in the same vein that we just said we invited you. Like, it wasn't a detailed discussion of the situation. It was just a statement of what happened from both sides.
The bottom line is, I think that when you explain, either you explain everything that you know about the entire issue, or you explain nothing. This whole, like, I'm representing the people who I work for, and I'm doing PR for them kind of shit, I don't want to see that anywhere on the forums. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to see people working on their image on the forums. I don't want to see people, like, not saying certain things because that would work bad for their reputation. Like, if someone asks you a question...
Why should people not work on their image on the forum?
What's the point of posting at all? It's bullshit. Like, people want to read the forum because they want to know what people think honestly and truly. Like, if you're just going to use it as a tool for your career, then...
But it's not that. No, he was,
Tyler, I think that's
posting information that people needed, or wanted.
That's like insanely utopian, that people can just post everything they think. I did that one night, and I almost lost my life in StarCraft 2. Like, I would love to make jokes.
I know, and now you have to bullshit yourself.
Yeah, and that's part of the life. It's getting serious. Like, does Colby, like, when people make an announcement, they're not just speaking for themselves, they're representing people, and that's awesome. That means esports growing.
So now I can know to absolutely ignore everything you say in public. Because
and Hoppit, I guess, if that's your attitude. Hoppit used to be a giant troll, BTW, one of your good friends. Now he can't. A lot of people have to change and grow with the community, and I don't think it's fair to sit here and say, like, the forums for acting like however the hell you want to. I don't want to see people being professional on the forums. That's a really weird stance to take. It's really weird.
You can adjust who you are. You can be a different person, but it's about knowing more about an issue and not posting. It's about being deceptive. It's about purposely being deceptive.
It wasn't deception. It was just the most basic action from both sides. It was the action from both sides, and none of the reasoning at all. We gave you the invite. There was a bunch of reasoning behind it, and there was a bunch of reasoning behind why we didn't accept the changes you want made, and then you declined the invitation. And there were a bunch of reasons why you didn't want to accept the invitation. Neither of those were listed. It was just the actions from both sides. It was telling people what happened. It wasn't an explanation at all. It was just a statement of the facts.
But I have to ask final thoughts, Tyler and Jeff. Because we're going in circles almost.
Go ahead, Tyler.
Final thoughts. Ignore what anyone says who has an agenda. I mean, like, I don't know what to say. Just you can't trust anyone anymore. I don't know what else to say about it. Like, you never know when someone's deceiving you. You can't, anytime someone endorses something where they have an interest in it, you can't believe them.
Tyler, do you actually like Stride Gum, you stupid motherfucker? Do you chew Stride Gum all the time? God damn it. Like, obviously, you fucking don't. You chew Stride Gum now because they're paying you goddamn money to do it, and that's because you're going to represent that company. Obviously, people have agendas. Obviously, people are
This is way different. This is way different, though. Because I genuinely like Stride Gum because they take an interest in esports, because they sponsor MLG, and because they sponsor me.
I like Steel
So
Series
because it helps your
the same
personal
thing.
interests.
Yeah, you're not altruistic. You're self-serving. Your posts are all self-serving. I can't listen to your posts anymore because they all only matter about you. You can't. We need to make a Tyler forum where you only post by yourself because that's the only person who should care, right?
You're completely
It doesn't make sense, Tyler.
misunderstanding this. You're putting these two issues together. Like, if you know a full story to an issue and you're deceptive about it, then that's a problem. You either shouldn't post or you should post the full story. If you're promoting a product, then yeah, you promote the product. Like, I think it comes to the point where, like, if someone makes a thread on, what keyboard you should use, and an EG guy says, use a SteelSeries keyboard, then you can be sure that they know inside out what the SteelSeries keyboard is. You don't know how much they know about other keyboards, and you're pretty sure they're not giving their honest opinion on what the best keyboard is. They're going to say SteelSeries keyboard. So you could just not post in keyboard review threads, you know what I mean? Like, if you go to a forum, you're not going to go to a thread and say, look, I've tried every single keyboard, trust me, SteelSeries is the best. Like, that's just ridiculous. But, I mean, if there's an issue that you're trying to explain, then I think you know it in depth on both sides, and you know everything that went down, then you should just give the full story. It's a little bit different than endorsing products, and even like Hopid not trolling so much, that's a little bit different. I mean, he doesn't want to be an administrator of Team Liquid who trolls people. Like, just because he used to like trolling, and maybe he would still like trolling if he wasn't an administrator, he becomes administrator, and then he honestly doesn't want to troll people anymore as the administrator. That's not deception. Like,
but he doesn't want to because he knows he's representing the site, and that's still kind of the same thing. Like, he has outside influences that are more important to him. It's still not a personal drive. It's not like he is a different person now. It's just he has overriding influences.
Well, I can't explain it anymore.
Jeff.
You bore him, Greg. I'm just going to say this.
I just want Mom and Dad to stop fighting. That's all I want.
Sorry, this happens on a weekly basis, Nick. You'll get used to it.
In the situation specifically of this tournament, I can absolutely understand. I can understand, but I don't agree with Tyler's sensibilities that this is Team Liquid's website. This is their team's website as well as a forum. So when Evil Geniuses does announce a tournament that wants to get spectators, it is a competitor, if you will, and they exclude Team Liquid because they don't agree with Team Liquid's ask for accommodations. I could see how in Tyler's Texan brain that gets interpreted as aggressive, and that when posted on Team Liquid does seem out of place, and I could see how he would get fired up. What I was trying to establish with this conversation, and hopefully there's some lingering truth to this that seeps in somewhere, it is that the game is growing, the people are evolving. Colby had to say that neutered, generic response, not because he wanted to or because that's how he actually felt, but because that's what's appropriate. When people are listening, you don't point the finger at Team Liquid, or you don't speak aggressively. You speak in a neutered language as an admin of a huge $10,000 tournament representing sponsorships that are important to the entire esports scene. SteelSeries sponsors so many teams, it's ridiculous. I think they should only sponsor EG. But what I had a problem with was Tyler using language that was aggressive and forward, and then later having that contradicted by administrative staff on his own team because it was aggressive and forward, and then calling us pathetic, and then on the podcast basically defending it by saying, on the forum you should have no agenda, you should have no reason to post other than it's just like this weird free flow thought, like sexual revolution type place where everything just is for your, like everyone else, and then like this pseudo it's my house, you have no right to post here, what are you contributing? I feel like that's pretty aggressive and detrimental to everyone else, because EG is a big enough dog where that's okay, we can take that criticism, but what does a little team do that's trying to host a small tournament when Tyler waves that big stick and says, you got no place in my forums speakings about your tournaments, and then they feel like they're outgunned because obviously people are going to side with Tyler because he's the superstar. And I feel like that's a really dangerous mindset, and I would ask that people consider that, like, Team Liquid's the community website, especially, it has been, it is now, and it probably will be, and that kind of mindset is really detrimental.
I think we've covered that. Reason I let everyone was yelling at me to cut that off, but I think that conversation needed to be had. We do have two things. We've got user questions first, and then of course shout-outs. So we'll do the questions, and we'll go a little bit longer today on the questions since we did break 20K. I feel it's only right. If you have questions, send them in to sotgquestions@gmail.com, and I'll go ahead and pull a bunch of those. But we do have one already lined up. Greg,
Is my webcam finally fixed?
Yeah, you're good.
Like the ghost of Obi-Wan Kenobi, or is there color in this?
There is some color. You have like lighting in the back, I think, just because it's so early over there in Seoul, right?
Yeah, it's daytime over here. I think all you can see is my big vampire chair. Welcome to my home. That's all you can see.
You look fine. You're good. You're good. People are happy. So first question, Greg. People like to ask you questions. First one from Grack Attack 420. I gotta have that name. Now that Grandmaster League is out, you've been consistently ranking in the top 5 of the North American division. Do you feel that the North American scene has been giving you enough of a challenge now that you've been back in the States? Will the transition from Korea to North America server affect your performance in tournaments?
The ladder isn't practice at all. I just play the ladder in order to stream and, play games. I actually haven't been practicing too much. Practice is really important for mechanics. At this level, mechanics aren't really a big concern of mine. I'm just spending more time thinking about the game and thinking about strategies and how they would interact with the current meta game. So it's more of a thought process for me than actual practice. And when I do need to practice, I have my teammates. So, no, the ladder isn't practice at all, but I do have other sources of practice.
People are requesting that Machine and Tasteless have a long out drawn fight now, since you two are the only one.
Fuck you, Dick! I still have nightmares about your goddamn cannons behind my mineral line.
We can talk about all of our previous show matches in StarCraft 1.
Oh God! No, let's not go there.
Alright.
Serious questions. A lot of weird. People want to. Nick, how are you so sexy? I've gotten like 30 of those. You got any secrets?
Indeed.
Nothing.
Oh, am I supposed to respond to that?
Yeah. You have to
sorry.
have an answer.
I didn't ask for these powers.
That's your
It's a
answer.
blessing and a
With
curse.
great powers comes great responsibility.
Yep.
So I will be at GSL for every Codex game.
You have any plans in the future to go outside of GSL? I mean, we've only kind of seen you so far in the Korean scene, and it's just been casting. Are there any plans in the future to branch out into anything else, or possibly start playing again?
Right now, I am just not in good shape with the amount of work I've been doing. I used to be, a lot better when I was just doing the StarCraft 1 stuff, and that was just once a week, but the amount of work I'm doing now, if I were to play, I just lose. Like, my mechanics are way down. But yeah, if I have some free time coming up, I'd love to compete. I've been playing StarCraft 2 and Street Fighter 4 a lot, so I'm not amazing at either of those, but yeah, if I have a chance, I'd compete a little bit.
Trying to pull questions as fast as I can, but a lot of these are just tasteless. Why are you so sexy? I guess let's do shout-outs and wait for some more questions to come in. We'll just go around the square here. Tyler, where can people check you out?
Oh, well, my Twitter's up there, at Tyler Washleski. It's spelled right there for you on the video. So just follow me on Twitter. That would be excellent. Thank you very much.
Jeff?
Yeah, just a Twitter, and thank you to EG. Do check out that Masters Cup. We're pretty excited about it. It's going to be awesome.
IdrA? I guess you and Machine Guy have all the same thing, as well as Jeff.
Yeah, my Twitter is at IdRAJIT, IdrAJIT. That's not up there because we have our own little hybrid thing. But actually, a big announcement I've been meaning to make, but I keep forgetting. I am actually going to be guest casting the NASL next week, broadcasted, I believe, the 11th through 13th. So it'll be me and Jeff, or me and iNcotroL and Greytorp alternating days. So everyone should tune in for that. I'm really excited about that. I haven't done much casting yet in the Start 2, but I'm going to be doing it for the Masters Cup, and now this for NASL, so it's kind of a cool new experience for me. I hope everyone tunes in. And I will now be streaming with commentary for the next week because we did break 20,000 viewers.
Indeed.
So everyone ought to tune into that.
And I'll be buying your bar tabs.
Yes, you will. You can find my stream at IdRAJIT, IdrAJIT.tv. And that's it.
Machine?
Look for me to beat MC this week in NASL.
Do it, man.
Oh, yeah. And, I don't know, just follow me at Machine USA on Twitter. And, yeah, I'm kind of serious about the NASL. I'm at least practicing hard, so even if it doesn't look like it, think that. I put a lot of games into that, so as you see me get embarrassingly 2-0'd, you know, just feel...
I'd love it if you went 0-4,
Even more
man.
painful then.
I know, I would too, man. I'm going to try and make it happen. We'll see.
Nick, where can people check you out?
You can watch my stuff at gomtv.net. It's free if you watch it live. Otherwise, you got to get a ticket. Please add my Twitter. It's call me Tasteless. I mostly post dubstep and dick jokes. Dubstep and dick jokes. Gotta add me. I have a shirt site, thehandsomenerd.com. Feel free to check that out. What else do I need to shout out? To Dan, my hetero life partner, Artosis.
Where is Dan? Is he laddering right now? Is that why he's not on the call?
He's actually a little bit sick today. I
Okay.
talked to him on the phone before I came on air here. So I think he's somewhere, well, probably in front of his computer in his underwear feeling sorry for himself.
Sounds good. We've got some more questions. We're going to throw this one to Jeff. He says, as a low-level diamond player, what is the best way for him to get started in tournaments?
Well, I think that's a pretty self-fulfilling answer. Like, there's never been more tournaments now, I think, that are... There's weekly ones going on all the time that are free to join, and there's no invite. It's just like, go play it and do it. I mean, as a diamond player, he's certainly not at the top of the food chain, but there's no better way to learn than tournament experience. I mean, well, I'm not entirely going to back that statement. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and drop it off the table, but it's a great way to learn, and I think it's a really important tool to becoming a competitive StarCraft 2 player.
Someone sent in a question from James. He wants to know, what is everyone's favorite memory while they were traveling abroad for StarCraft? So we'll just go around. We'll start with Nick first and work our way back. Nick, what was your favorite moment? Because you've traveled a lot, actually, probably more than most people here.
Wait, do you mean like just traveling, like, or like does it have to be in a StarCraft game?
StarCraft reasoned traveling.
AKA a WCG or a GSL in your, or I guess casting over.
Or an event or whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of my most memorable moments was being in Chengdu for the World Cyber Games in China, and seeing the audience was so fucking big, man. There were so many people down there cheering and stuff. I think I had like a tear come down my face and stuff. I was like, damn, this is just so sick. For playing, I mean, in tournaments, it'd be the time I beat Noni. That was just amazing. And I got to go. I made a smiley face with pylons. That was my greatest moment. And of course, going out and just having drinks with everybody.
It's always fun. IdrA, what about you?
I don't know if Korea counts as overseas, given I lived there for so long, but playing the opening match of the first GSL was pretty cool. We were up on stage. They had the big production for the whole show and everything, and they had like Blizzard executives and giant audience, and it was in a little stadium thingy. That was really, really cool because like I'd been sitting there on the B team playing StarCraft 1 for years and watching other players play on stage and on TV and stuff, and to actually be a part of that was really, really cool.
Machine?
Best traveling experience, obviously in Brood War, going to IEM for in 2009, or IEF in 2009. And watching a bunch of foreigners beat Boxer was definitely hilarious, and then having to lose to my buddy Greg here. And then as far as tournament play, I guess last year beating Select and taking top 6 at MLG finals was pretty big experience for me. Definitely boosted my ego and so forth. And it's just always good to see yourself do well in a tournament, I guess.
Jeff, have you? I guess you went to Korea, but is that the only place you've traveled? Because I know you said you'd never been to Europe, right?
Dude, I've been to places. Come on now.
I know.
I've been to like Mexico and shit.
Yeah, Mexico.
Oh, okay. Okay. I just remember you saying that you'd never been to Europe. Was what I was getting at.
Went to Mexico a bunch, a few times. You did. I bristled when you said that, but I was like, fuck, it's only Mexico. It's like
I'm
Mexico
on to something
and Korea.
here. I have a point.
I know. It will be Europe soon, hopefully. Not to be lame, but actually I'll have to echo the sentiments of Bryce. It was IEF the first time, well, the only time we went for Brood War. Like, they had us speak at a meal as representatives of our country.
Wait,
and that was one of the funniest... one of the funniest moments of my life. There was White Raw in a women's t-shirt, a women's sleeveless shirt. Standard, he's wearing like cowboy boots, and he gets up to the podium and he straddles like both sides of it, and is like, "Yeah, it's so good, country." Yeah, and everyone's like, like the interpreter could not interpret what he was saying. It's good, yes, thank you. And then he like walked away, and everyone like, ah. It was awesome, but the whole thing was magical. Tasteless Nartosis taking us around. I do have to give a big shout out to Rec Rule, treating us like kings for that weekend. He definitely flaunted his baller lifestyle in Korea, and we got to experience that for a while, so it was cool. Just meeting everyone. I found out what a Brazilian steakhouse is, and I think if there was any of those located near me, I would die of obesity.
Yeah, dude.
I would fill up and die. And it would happen in like 2 days, too. It would be like 6 meals later, Jeff Control Robinson dead on the front page of some news site. And just everything about it was awesome. Like, I actually did quite poor in the tournament. I had Bisu, Effort, and another top-tier Korean in my group. So, PJ, who's actually the top Chinese player. And I just got smashed. But then we did bet games, and I played the best Brood War of my life. I've never played that good a Brood War. I won something like $300 in $10 bet games versus all the top foreigners of Brood War at the time, so I was so happy. One notable game is that we were in a PC bong at like 4 a.m., and I beat Phoenix on Heartbreak Ridge for the final of the best of 3. And the kid sitting 7 inches away from me gets up, turns the computer off, packs his stuff up, and walks out of the building. No GG. And I was like talking to his back. I was like, really? Nothing? He's just just walking away. But it was awesome. Really good time.
Tyler, what about you?
And also, I've gotten to take Anna to a few things, so I just want to throw that there. It's been amazing to travel with her too.
Awesome. Tyler?
Well, just taking my experience in Korea as a whole for StarCraft 1, just really nothing can compare. Getting to experience pro gamer lifestyle after thinking of it as something that's unachievable for a non-Korean for so many years, and then being one of the rare guys to get an opportunity to go out there, and then really fitting in on the team. Song Ho, really cool guy. He was on my team for StarCraft 1, and Hwani, most amazing dude. I'm sure Nick can back me up there. And then also Nick and Dan were out there, and good old Puerto Rican, sharing a room with Puerto Rican in the IdrA house.
Took pictures of people when they were asleep.
Those were excellent times. I missed that.
Yeah, but all the guys, and of course Greg. I got to meet up with Greg a couple times, and then my run through the Courage tournament. Just the whole thing was surreal for me, and it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. So that was pretty awesome.
Machine, a question from you, or for you, from Mario. He wants to know, how have you benefit from having IdrA on your team?
A ton, actually. Just by having him in the house, he's giving me subtle little changes to my play. You know, every single time I run into a problem, instead of just, you know, crying imbalance, I ask him, you know, what do you do?
And then we cry imbalance
and then
together.
he tells me, you know, he secures that it is actually imbalanced, and I'm just losing because I picked Zurich. But no, but seriously, I've learned a ton from him. I couldn't have asked, honestly, for a better Zurich to live with. So, you know, hopefully this keeps up, and I've definitely improved just by being able to watch over his shoulder and, you know, try and take from him what I can.
Jeff, a question for you. Who is your favorite person to play/beat from Dr. Moose?
IdrA.
Great.
He's one of the best players on the whole planet. So when you beat him, you feel legitimate. It feels like a better game. And he also always has something worthwhile to say as the game is descending into the win category for the Protoss. So I love Greg's post-game analysis when we play.
That is the best part about beating Greg, is when he doesn't fucking say GG.
Last time he was talking about infestors tickling my units and how they were magical. I was like, go on.
Tickle was the proper verb for that situation, too. That was hilarious.
Nick, a tasteless from Wilson. He wants to know, how well do you know Korean?
I can read and write Korean. Like, you know, with fluency, it's always kind of on a scale of what you're actually talking about. I've been told my accent's okay. I want to start studying it again. I'm gonna get like a language exchange going on here. I mean, I can get around and get what I need. If I have to talk, I mean, if I had to talk about politics or something complicated like that, or philosophy, that would be pretty difficult.
Another question. Patrick wants to know, how's life in Korea besides StarCraft? What's a day without StarCraft for Nick involve?
I play a lot of other games. I try to exercise. I party a lot. As you can ask any of these, actually everybody on the show knows that. So, I don't know, I'm a social guy. Yeah, I like to go out and do stuff, so. Yeah, that's it.
Looking for one more question. I don't want to ask about that. A lot of the stuff we've already covered earlier in the show, so go check out the VOD after.
You can call Anna for a question, too, if you want.
Oh, yeah. Is she around, Jeff? Do you know?
Well, I'm sure she is.
I'm just adding her to the conference. We'll just do it live.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
This will be the show ender right here. If she got to accept.
How long does the show normally run for?
2 to 3 hours. Anna,
What's up?
how's it going? We wanted to know if you had a question for us as our last question for the show.
Oh, sure. Sorry, I'm just getting my sketch set up here. Yeah, you know, I've actually been doing a lot of interviews lately myself for Miss USA, and people keep asking me what my most embarrassing moment is, and I have no good answer for them, so I'm wondering if you guys could tell me your most embarrassing moment in StarCraft, so maybe I can share it. I can steal it.
Most embarrassing what?
Moment in StarCraft specifically.
I lost
Most
a tasteless
embarrassing
show
moment?
match.
No, Bryce. Bryce has to actually take this
There's
whole
no
answer,
shame
I
in
think.
losing to Tasteless.
Bryce has to tell his top 3, I feel.
Oh, God. I don't know.
I believe your show match against one
Future, yes. I lost a best of 7 actually to Future.
Machine has so many of these. It's not really fair to the rest.
We gotta
just
go
have a whole set of them for him.
You just take my career. It's embarrassing.
Aw, Bryce.
I'm just messing with you guys.
Jeff, I guess we'll throw this to you first and just go
Shoot.
around.
If I had time to prepare, this would be a really, really good response, but there was a couple. Honestly, anytime I talk smack to a player because I don't like them or they're like bad-mannering me and then I lose, I feel so ashamed. I don't really have any embarrassing... Oh, okay. All right. Here's one. This is kind of mean though, but okay, that's fine with me, I guess. I lost a 2-man WCG qualifier LAN, and I had recently just joined the Templars of Twilight, which was one of the biggest Brood War teams. And okay, actually, Russ just reminded me of. Yep, that's the winner. I've told this one before, but I'll tell it again. But let me finish this one because it's pretty bad. And it was me, Team Templars of Twilight, and I was going with the name Revolver at the time because it's so epic. And I show up to this LAN, and there's a guy there by the name of HNR Insane, who used to be a moderator for Team Liquid, never played the game real serious. He was always kind of good. You know, he liked the game, but never a great player. And I was young at the time. I was the most cocky and arrogant and, like, so sure that this was a walk-over thing. And I don't even remember the games because I think my brain protected me that much. But I lost. And unfortunately, the story doesn't have an epic ending, but it was quite embarrassing. But Russ just reminded me, I've told the plastic on the bottom of the mouse story, right?
Oh, that's the best one. You gotta tell that one.
You gotta tell it again. Yeah.
I don't think you've told it on State of the Game at least.
Okay,
So
and I have
used
one to add to it if you can't think of another one for you.
That's always good.
That's always reassuring.
Yeah, I used to use Razer Diamondbacks, fantastic mouse. Not as good as the SteelSeries ones, but fantastic.
Not at all.
And it broke. It got old, and it broke. So Ann and I went to Best Buy, and we bought the most expensive Razer mouse I could find, which was the Lachesis. And we sat at my desk. I plugged it in, and I started playing. And she's on the bed, like, surfing her laptop or something. And she's like, "Well, how do you like it?" And I was like, it's okay. I mean, I like it. I think it's just different. It's different. So, I play like this for a couple hours. I had to get the mouse really fast because I had to play in a tournament.
It was a couple days.
Yeah, I thought you actually played in Mexico with it.
No, not
Seriously?
in Mexico.
No, it was like 3 days.
Anyways, I played a tournament, and I beat like 2 of the top players in the whole planet, by the way, which is why the story's kind of cool. I beat TOT Timothy, and then Castro. I beat both of those guys. And those are names that like 6 people know who I'm talking about, but that was pretty cool.
4 of them are on here.
Yeah. And then, Anna once again was like, "Well, how do you like it?" I was like, "I don't know. I don't think I like it." And she's like, "Well, let me see it." So she looks at it, flips it over, and the plastic wrapping was still on the bottom of the mouse. So I was playing with a laser mouse that was it was going through the plastic wrapping. So it like slowed it down to just ridiculously stupid degrees and just messed up the mouse. And I didn't say anything. I just like had a sheepish grin on my face because there's nothing you can say when your girlfriend knows more about a gaming mouse than you do. So that was pretty embarrassing.
Tyler,
it's definitely one of the stupidest things I've ever done.
Wait, is Anna going to reveal the one that...
Can I piggyback off that? Because that's not the only time that I've replaced Jeff's mouse or done something to Jeff's mouse, because I think it was at the death of the Lachesis. He had the Lachesis for a long time, and I just was using his computer and could not, for the life of me, use his mouse. And I was like, what ended up happening was the buttons were basically broken. Like the springs, there was no click left in the mouse, and he had just been playing on it with no click left because he was so used to it because he played it every single day. So that was why he ended up getting a new mouse, because I felt it and pointed out that maybe he would like a real click on his mouse.
Tyler, what's your most embarrassing story?
Oh man, I don't think I have that great of a story, but I have, almost kind of related to what we were talking about earlier. Been quite a character on the Team Liquid forums in my day, which Greg, that gets an instant laugh out of Greg. Yeah, I've posted some wild shit on Team Liquid. Well, I mean, there's no let's not be self-destructive thought in my head. There's nothing like, I'm about to do something, how bad is this going to fuck me over, maybe I shouldn't do it. That doesn't go on. I'm just like, I want to do something, and I'm the last person I'm concerned about while I'm doing it. If anything, I'm concerned about like people who are associated with me being embarrassed. So yeah, I've had some meltdowns, I would say, on Team Liquid, and that's probably the worst I've done.
Greg?
Greg.
Yeah,
okay.
He doesn't get embarrassed.
On SCV comes to mind. Some hallucinated void rays come to mind.
No, I tried the hallucination game against Huck at MLG. Thank God I went on to beat him, but that was pretty bad.
I think that's the first time you've gone on record and said something about that.
No, I'm sure I've mentioned it before.
Well, tell people the Brutal one. That would be good too.
Which one?
The SCV.
Oh no, that was just fucking Protoss. Like, probes were the best unit in the game.
Okay, Tyler, tell the story then.
There were a lot of good units. They were Protoss, and probes were pretty fucking good.
Because probes were good. That was it. This is like every single game you play in StarCraft 1 PvT, the probe arrives at the Terran base, and it just tickles two things here and there.
It kills you, and then that happened at a really inopportune time for me.
It's a thing that you harass with, and then if the Terran player lets an SUV die, then you laugh at him for being really bad. But when he lets a command center get canceled,
no SCV.
Well, then you create,
I didn't let an SCV.
I know a SCV didn't die, but a command center died. That's when it creates the most embarrassing moment for one of the best players in the world.
I don't know. I think the hallucination thing was a little bit more embarrassing.
Maybe.
They were close, though. Those were both pretty
Very
bad.
close.
Nick, I know you have no shame, but what is the most embarrassing story in your life thus far?
I think it was when I tried to qualify for Courage, which is a StarCraft 1 tournament in Korea, where if you win that, then you get to have a pro gaming license. I was casted at the time, and I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I got this thing? And at the time, there was a documentary team following me around, and it's weird when you have like a camera filming you, like orbiting around you and stuff, when you're actually in a game. And I went to it's this big tournament that you got to sign up for. So there's like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people down there, and I walk in and there's just so many computers, and I really stuck out. I was like this big, tall Caucasian guy, and I sat down, and I don't normally get nervous in matches, but the fact that this camera, I already stuck out so much, people were looking at me, but then there was this camera there filming me, and I was playing fine, but I saw the camera guy go off and do something at the upper right side, like of my eye. I just kind of caught it, and at that moment, I lost my shuttle. I like flew it into a bunch of Zerg Hydralisks, and I was just sitting there, and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm gonna be immortalized in this documentary for losing my shuttle. I was so pissed, and Artosis was down there too. He was the only other white guy down there, and he when I lost, when you lose, like, I mean, everybody that's on the show right now knows, when you lose and you're like, you don't want anybody to talk to you, you're like really pissed, you're like, oh man, but I remember I could feel my face was red, and there was like this camera like a few feet away from it, and that was just terrible. It was just a terrible thing. Yeah.
Anna, I'm gonna have to ask you, what's your most embarrassing moment?
That's the problem, is I can't think of anything. I always use it.
Jeff, why don't you tell Anna her most embarrassing moment? How about that?
Sure.
Oh no. JP, I thought we were friends.
I used to.
Friends till the end, man.
I did a Team Liquid. Let me get this right. I think I did a Team Liquid attack. I'm pretty certain of it. It was a long time ago, towards the beginning. I'm not entirely sure it was a Team Liquid attack. But we had Anna hop on. This was one of the first times she ever played Brood War. And it was just before work. So she sits down in the chair, crosses her legs, which makes her and IdrA the only two people who've ever done that. And she had a coffee in one hand, puts her other hand on the mouse, and goes, so what do I do? And I was like, and I'm being streamed while I say this, and I'm like, okay, well, first of all, put the coffee down. She was going to try to play Brewed with Coffee, and then I helped her. I helped her successfully 2-gate a Zerg, and it almost worked. She did quite well. But there is a VOD of that, and people should check it out.
No, there isn't. Is there seriously a VOD of that?
That's what I just said. So, she was quite adorable the entire time because, and I actually got in trouble afterwards to build on this embarrassment for her. Because afterwards she was like, Jeff, now people are going to know I don't know everything about Brood War. And I was like, honey.
No, that's not what I said.
Well, you don't. Go ahead. What did you actually say?
People are going to know how much of a noob I am.
That's actually cute.
Yeah, that's actually better.
Sure. So she said
the twins
that.
agree.
God.
With their umbilical cord.
Yeah.
Twins is better than some of the things the chat have been saying.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh, man. Chat's always saying
You
nice
can't
stuff.
read the
I don't know what
chat,
you're
man.
talking about.
I know.
Before Jeff and I established the rule of he has to tell me when multiple thousands of people are listening to our conversation, I said some embarrassing things.
Well, there you go. That's your answer. You can relive those moments in front of the Miss USA.
More thousands of people.
Yeah, more thousands of people.
That's actually a really good answer. I totally am going to use that.
There you go, man. State of the
You
game.
guys are part of the USA effort.
Solving problems and making each other hate each other all episode long. But that's going to do it for today's episode. I do want to say that MLG passes for MLG Columbus are on sale. They went on sale about 7 hours ago over at MajorLeagueGaming.com. It's $70 for the player passes to participate. So if you want to play and you're in the Columbus, Ohio area, go and sign up. Also, check out Complexity Gaming. The Tactic Tournament is going to be starting this Friday. It's a $10,000 tournament. Ask Joshy will be casting up until the end of May, which myself and DJ Wheat will be hopping on, I think, for the final 64 for that. TSL Round of 4 this weekend. Watch that. I don't care what you're doing.
Yeah.
Everyone here will be tuning in. It's going to be an awesome event. Cannot wait for that. Follow me here on Justin.tv. Follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/ShapeMeJP, YouTube.com/ShapeMeJP, and Facebook.com/MeJP. Thanks again, IdrA, for getting the viewer count up, and you'll be rewarded with drinks on. We got to figure out which night we can actually go and drink on, but
The last one, obviously.
all right, that's fair. That's fair.
God,
Sounds good to
JP,
me.
you're so stupid.
It's all right. It's all right. I was thinking maybe the first one, but anyways. Thanks again for everyone tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week, same place, same time. We are out as soon as I find the outro music. All right, there we go.